Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, People in Sand Hidden Village. Kill White Fang at the beginning. Chapter 76. Did you make it? Then I will try my best to relieve my boredom. Aikikishimehime fumbled around according to Qinfeng's prompts, and quickly figured out how to use it. After pressing the power button, a few pixels popped up on the screen of the game console. Then, a game theme composed of pixels popped up: Emergency Food Escape. In this era when even cameras had just been invented by Qinfeng, game consoles naturally couldn't be made that advanced. For Qinfeng, this kind of game console with black and white pixels was not a change from eating delicacies from the mountains and seas to a simple diet, but a change from humans who were accustomed to eating cooked food to eating raw food and drinking blood. He himself has no interest in this kind of game console. It was created solely for the purpose of developing the economy, coaxing children, and trying to improve the progress of the dark game template. But this is just boring for Qinfeng. Others have not experienced the explosion of various games. On the black and white game console, a fat bird made of pixels flickered forward in the air, constantly passing through obstacles. As the fat bird flew faster and faster, and the terrain became more and more difficult, the poor fat bird finally died on the water pipe. He died again. Aikikishimehime, who was floating in the air, waved his fist angrily. The game screen on the game console was very simple, and even the operation only had one button, but Aikikishimehime was inexplicably immersed in it, and a long time passed in the blink of an eye. What? Not bad, right? Do you want to try something else? Qinfeng appeared behind Aikikishimehime with a smile. Ah, if you don't complete your trial, why bother me? Aikikishimehime was startled by Qinfeng. She turned her eyes to the boulder. She was stunned for a moment, and then looked at Qinfeng angrily. What do you mean, you didn't put any in, do you want to die? As she spoke, signs of snake transformation appeared on the face of the originally cute loli. But Qinfeng did not show the expression of fear she expected. Instead, she slowly took out another scroll. There is something else in this. A few games, it doesn't matter if you don't want them. Qinfeng's expression and posture are very similar to Brother Jia, who tempted Ah Wei to go to the supermarket. Give me. Aikikishimehime's face changed instantly, and she snatched the scroll from Qinfeng's hand with a snap. After hiding the scroll in the game console, Aikikishimehime put her hands on her hips and looked at Qinfeng with dissatisfaction. If you can't pass the test, just say, for the sake of those things, I will only eat half of your chakra and let you go. It doesn't matter if you fail the trial, it's just that this kind of thing is too simple. If you solve it all at once, I won't be able to stay with you for a while. Qinfeng smiled softly and walked to the boulder. With sweet words, do you think that by bribing and complimenting me, I will give you a back door? Impossible. Aikikishimehime raised her face and turned to one side with an arrogant expression. I'm not trying to be a compliment, I'm honest like you. Qinfeng put his hand on the boulder and began to exert force. When he came to Longdi Cave, regardless of whether he could complete the immortal mode, he would definitely sign a psychic contract with Longdi Cave. Compared to Orochimaru's 10,000 snakes, Sasuke's green snake, and Boruto's Shinya, the strength and appearance of the three gods are undoubtedly far superior to them. Since you want a psychic beast, why not choose Senshenji? It's useless. Don't waste your efforts and chakra in vain. Just do as I say, okay. Aikikishimehime reminded me when she saw Qinfeng trying to push away the boulder, but helplessly fell to the ground. Qinfeng seemed not to hear it, and increased the strength in his hands. The boulder remained motionless. It seems that it may be another situation. However, one final confirmation is required. Qinfeng looked at the boulder, retracted his hand, shook his fist, a burst of steam suddenly surged out from his arm, and punched the boulder. Boiling escape, unparalleled strange power. Boom. One punch, except for a loud bang, the boulder left no trace at all. It is indeed an illusion. Qinfeng confirmed the source of the boulder in front of him. Illusion is different from illusion. Although both are false, the illusion is more like a fixed trigger program, and others can also see it. Qinfeng guessed that the boulder was an illusion, and he thought of the original work. There are many things like this on Turtle Island in Zongyunyan Village, which has a similar environment to the psychic world. For example, since he knows that it is an illusion, Qinfeng understands. There is no need to overturn the chessboard. The chessboard is already fixed, and overturning it is just a waste of energy. Thinking of this, Fang punched the rock under his feet, and the rock broke into a large piece, powder. Hey, you don't want to dig a tunnel out, do you? Seeing Fang's actions, Aikikijima Haim asked hurriedly. I'm overthinking it, I'm just preparing to complete your trial. Fang took out a piece of paper, wiped his hands, and smiled. Sure enough, as long as you don't want to leave violently, you can destroy other places. Therefore, it is very simple to pass this test. Go. Fang waved his hand, and the gravel on the ground turned into gravel, instantly filling all the grooves on the boulder. This, Aikikishimahime was stunned. There are indeed several grooves on the boulders that cannot be found in corresponding stones. At that time, it will be necessary to try to break through the inherent thinking and polish and cast those stones again. But she never expected that Fang didn't put a single stone in, but filled all the grooves with sand. According to the trial conditions, he only needs to fill it up to pass. So, the entire cave gradually began to mist and slowly disappeared. It's really a fantasy. It's such a shame that you passed in this way. Aikikijima Haim came to her senses, retreated and gradually disappeared. Her trial is over, and the rest should be left to Tatsuji Haim. Okay, let's bring that young man in. The voice of an old woman came from deep in the fog, which directly dispersed the fog. Aikikijima Haim, who was retreating invisibly, stopped awkwardly in the air. Not far from her, the third person had not yet appeared. Tuanjinji looked at Fang curiously. You can actually make the White Snake Immortal make an exception and not conduct the third trial. You are very special. What is the third trial? Fang glanced at the real Longdi Cave temple that appeared in the distance, turned around and asked. It doesn't matter if I tell you, I just want Tuanjinji to take a bite and face your inner fear. Aikikijima Haim jumped up to Fang and patted his arm. Let's go, White Snake Senin asked us to take you directly in, and we don't know why we gave you the privilege. It's really strange. Perhaps, she is not giving me privileges, but is just worried about your safety. Fang glanced at the girl's appearance, Tuanjinji, and said casually. Bite him, you won't be afraid of your teeth breaking. PFF'd, are you worried about our safety? Tanjinji covered her mouth and laughed, looking at Fang, you don't think our strength is as cute as our appearance, do you? In this regard, Fang just smiled and shook his head, without saying much. The status of Mikamihime in Ryuji Cave is the same as that of Fukasaku Shima in MT. Myoboku. She must possess a large amount of senjutsu chakra and have great strength. However, strength is relative, it depends on who you compare with. Sanshenji led Fang to the door and stopped. The White Snake Immortal is inside, you can go in. After saying that, Sanshenji's figure slowly faded and disappeared as before. Fang opened the door and walked in. After entering, the door closed automatically. Fang glanced back. Although he didn't see anything, he felt that the disappeared Sanshenji should have followed. However, the other party should have used the magic chakra to integrate with nature, so it was difficult to detect it. Who is coming? At the end of the temple, a pale-faced old lady was half lying on a cushion, squinting at Fang. If you saw this face in the middle of the night, those who are less timid would probably be frightened to death. White Snake Immortal, don't you know who I am? Fang walked up to the old woman and glanced at the empty platform behind. If he guessed correctly, the place behind is where the White Snake Immortal usually stays. The current old woman is just the incarnation of the White Snake Immortal. That's all. After all, even the three goddess can transform into a human being, so it's not surprising that the White Snake Immortal can change. I'm not an old toad, and I don't know how to predict things. The old woman who was the incarnation of the White Snake Immortal opened her snake eyes slightly and glanced at Fang. You are somewhat different from those who covet the power of the immortal. After passing these tests, do you have any insights? As he said that, the White Snake Immortal sat upright and put his hands into his sleeves. Enlightenment, should not. Fang shook his head. Not to mention he was enlightened. In fact, until just now, he thought that the test of Ryuji Cave had not yet begun. Because the previous tests of Tianxin Shenji and Aikikijima Haim were a bit too naive. But after arriving here, Fang thought about it carefully and discovered the problem. He came from a period of information explosion before time travel, and various tricks emerged in an endless stream, but the test in the ninja world and the psychic world is relatively new. Yes. Do you know what those tests mean? When the White Snake Immortal heard what Qinfeng said, he couldn't help opening his eyes and began to tell. Passing Tian Shinji's test means you have defeated gluttony. Passing the test of Aikikishimehime shows that you have wisdom. Not only did you pass the two tests, but you also got along well with them, which shows that you have the power of affinity. Finally, the three of them can be regarded as beauties in human form, and they are beauties of different ages who can meet various requirements. You can prove that you have defeated lust. After the White Snake Immortal finished speaking, he squinted his eyes and lay back, then looked at Qinfeng slowly. What do you think about this? I think there is something wrong with your test. Qinfeng thought for a while and said. Question. The White Snake Immortal was slightly startled, and the expression of Sanshenji hiding next to her suddenly froze. They knew what Qinfeng was going to say. You see, the first test was about food, and the table was covered with a bunch of unpalatable things. The second test of wisdom turns out to be a sub-supply game, which is too imbecile. As for defeating lust, that's even more outrageous. Qinfeng glanced at the hidden position of Sanshenji and said, the three of them do represent Lolita, girls and young women, but the problem is that they cannot cover everyone's preferences. Everyone's XP system is different and cannot be generalized. I just know a guy named Patriot, and he likes older women. I have also met many furries who like My Little Pony. If nothing else, I also think Lilia and Lunara are cute like this. Qinfeng said, while casually condensing images with gravel. White Snake Immortal was stunned when he listened to Qinfeng's speech. After listening to Qinfeng's speech, Sanshenji was so frightened that he was exposed from hiding. My God, are humans so scary? Isn't this too scary? And for those of you who like the old lady, you won't have to have the White Snake Immortal take part in future trials, right? Sanshenji was surprised at the various strange XP systems of human beings. Well, let me help you improve the test content. Qinfeng looked at the three gods who appeared and continued to talk to the White Snake Immortal. In terms of food, follow me to study in the human world for a while, and have a good understanding of what it means to have both color, flavor and taste. The previous illusion was too fake. In terms of wisdom, you can also learn slowly from me, but this is not something that can be improved in a short time. In the meantime, just use the conjecture I mentioned before to prove it. Quote. Immortal White Snake looked at Qinfeng's eloquent words, suddenly raised his brows, took a scroll from the side and threw it over. Qinfeng's words stopped suddenly and he caught the scroll. It turns out you want to sign a contract with the three of them. You have a good vision. But Longdi Cave is different from those toads. Can you convince the three of them? White Snake Immortal squinted at Qinfeng and said slowly. The psychic contract at Miaomu Mountain is equivalent to signing with the Toad Clan. But Raichi Cave is different. The snakes here are arrogant and lonely, and normal contracts can only channel psychics. The weakest ordinary snake can be produced, and after signing a contract with a giant snake, it can only channel itself. Unlike Uzumaki Naruto in the original work, using channeling is entirely based on which toad is available in Miaomu Mountain. Whichever toad comes. Therefore, even though Orochimaru is an orthodox contractor of Raichi Cave, he can only channel the 10,000 snakes and a few giant snakes who have signed the contract, but he cannot channel the three gods. Gee. Convince them. Qinfeng turned his gaze to Sangami. His eyes only stayed on Tianxinjin and Aikikijima Heim for a second, and then turned to Tuanjin Heim. To convince three people, in essence, for him, he only convinced one person. Tan. Jinji is the only one who has not tested him, and she is also the one he does not understand. Don't look at it, just the two of us are enough. Tuanjinji won't waste her time with you. Aikikijima Heim with a Lolita posture floated and sat on Qinfeng's shoulder, patted his neck and said. What are her hobbies? Qinfeng glanced at the girlish figure, and asked the Lolita on her shoulder. Lolita's hobby is games, while young women's hobbies are cooking and food. This seems to be a rule. Cultivation, strength. Aikikishimehime jumped off Qinfeng's shoulder, walked up to him and bent down to look at him, tilting her head and smiling. How's it going? Is there nothing you can do about this? Signing a contract with a psychic beast, to put it bluntly, is to let the psychic beast help during the battle and covet the power of the psychic beast. Only the contracted beast helps the contractor complete the immortal mode, and I have never heard of the contractor helping the psychic beast to enhance strength. The power of the two is not the same system at all. Seeing Qinfeng stunned, Aikikijima Haim thought that he was helpless after hearing about Tatsuhime's preferences. In fact, Qinfeng was just lamenting that there was a normal person among the three gods in Longdi Cave. As for helping psychic beasts improve their strength, it is indeed difficult for ordinary people to do it, and they will not do it. Even Orochimaru couldn't do it before he started researching genetic engineering. It's not that there is no way. Qinfeng glanced at Kishimehime, who was gloating about his misfortune, and then looked at Tanjinji. Tanjinji blinked at Qinfeng, and she seemed to be looking forward to Qinfeng, the abnormal tester. Let me ask a question first, is your current form an entity? Qinfeng asked. Of course we are, do we look like illusions? Tian Shenji immediately answered. That would be easy. Qinfeng nodded slightly. The difference between the physical transformation technique and the ordinary transformation technique is like the ordinary clone technique and the second generation Tsuchikage's splitting technique. The two essentially directly change their own bodies. Just like Baijus can perform similar transformation techniques, except that he can perceive good and evil to distinguish, and you can't tell the difference just by observing, even with a white eye. The reason why Qinfeng asked this question was also very simple. If the human form of the three goddesses is a physical entity, it means that their structure is no different from that of humans. Have you ever considered learning some ninjutsu? Qinfeng asked Tuanjinji. Ninjutsu. Tanjinji, who was looking forward to Qinfeng's words, was stunned when she heard these words. Hey, you don't think that your human ninjutsu can improve our strength, do you? Aikikijima Haim stood in front of Qinfeng with a dissatisfied look on her face. If ninjutsu is useful, why did you come to Ryuji Cave to learn senjutsu? Do you breathe? Qinfeng asked calmly. I am alive and breathing naturally. Aikikishimehime replied with her lips puffed up. Since breathing is useful, why do you need chakra, drink water, and eat? Qinfeng asked back. Strong words make sense. Aikikijima Haim was stunned, unable to refute for a moment. Qinfeng turned to look at Tatsuji Haim. Since you have human bodies, you can naturally use human cultivation methods. This should be regarded as a way to become stronger, right? Or are you still old-fashioned and self-proclaimed, and when fighting, you just want to bite people and spray them with your mouth? Senjutsu chakra is indeed one level higher than ordinary chakra, but it does not mean that ninjutsu is useless. In the original plot, let's not mention the fact that Otsutsuki Kagaya was hit by the reverse harem technique. Nazu and Zuo were beaten. The Otsutsuki style that forced Naruto to turn on the heavy particle mode and cause the death of the Nine Tails was because he could not distinguish and did not take the shadow clone into consideration, and mistakenly carved the wedge into the clone, resulting in complete death. For psychic beasts, their body structure is different from that of humans. Most ninjutsu and seals cannot be shared, and they can only use the techniques inherited from each other. Among them, the Toad clan in the Three Holy Lands is the most advantageous because they have hands. Now that the three goddess has transformed into a human being, she finally has hands and a human body. Is it possible that her attack method will be the same as that of Wan Shi? What you said makes sense. Tanjinji touched her chin with her hand and thought for a moment, then looked up at Qinfeng. To thank you for finding a new path for me, you can ask the two of them to contact me when you need me to take action. It's better to sign the contract. Qinfeng was not surprised by Tuanjinji's rejection again. His plan was indeed useful, but for Tuanjinji, it was not much of an improvement in nature. It was more about filling in the flaws. And most importantly, his plan, the idea, did not highlight its own role. Tuanjinji did not need to rely on him at all. She only needed to get some ninjutsu scrolls from Orochimaru and study them. What about this one? Qinfeng raised his left hand, golden light flashed across his body, and he entered the Desert Emperor's Ascension mode. What is this power? Tanjinji's beautiful eyes widened and she couldn't help but take a step back. The psychic beast's perception of natural energy and chakra far exceeds that of ordinary humans. Qinfeng is like a small sun after entering the Ascension mode. This feeling makes snakes who are accustomed to cold and damp classes very unsuitable. The power of Ascension, are you interested? Qinfeng dispelled the Ascension mode and asked with a smile. What are the requirements? Tangenji's eyes were full of longing, and her instinct told her that this power was exactly what she dreamed of. Just as Aikikishima Haim said, they are all honest and do not know how to hide their desires like humans. There are many requirements to becoming an ascendant, and you should meet all but a few of them. Qinfeng threw the scroll that White Snake Immortal just gave him. My trust. Trust. Good. Qinfeng nodded slightly. He didn't just say it. Tuanjinji's strength and talent are sufficient, but if this is the only condition for becoming an ascender, then the sacrifice of the sun disk will also become the enemy's strength. Only by obtaining Qianjin, only by trusting the wind or completely surrendering to his ruler can one obtain the power of ascension. In the Shurima Empire of the Desert Emperor, there were also ascendants in the form of snakes. After the Shurima Empire became a ruin, a girl named Cassiopeia tried to steal this power of ascension, but instead of becoming a true ascendant, she was cursed by the Fangs and became a monster that was neither human nor snake. Under the temptation of Qinfeng, on the contrary, Tatsuhime became the first person to sign a contract with Qifeng. Immediately afterwards, Aikikishima Haim and Tien Shinjin Haim also signed a personal contract with Qifeng. Desired. Aikikijima Haim, who was originally planning to try to get some conditions with Qinfeng, gave up the idea. Dark Game Unlocking Degree plus 1%. Dark Game Unlocking Degree plus 2%. Dark Game Unlocking Degree plus 2%. Dark Game Unlocking Degree plus 2%. Current Unlock Level 9%. Unlock New Abilities. Destined to Draw. Signing a contract with a beast is considered an unlocking condition. The unlocking progress that was originally immobile suddenly increased sharply, and Qinfeng couldn't help but be startled. Summoning monsters from cards to fight, and fighting psychic beasts through channeling, are somewhat similar. But what Qinfeng didn't expect was that, signing a contract with Longdi Cave only brought about a 1% increase, while signing a contract with the three goddess each brought him a 2% unlocking rate. As expected, it is not expensive to unlock. Ability, that's secondary. Destined to Draw. Qinfeng is not in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh!, nor is he in the world where card games were rampant in his previous life. He should not be able to use this ability at all. Qinfeng looked at it. The specific situation of ability. Destined to Draw. Ability description. The power to transcend fate, making all possibilities become inevitable. Ability details. Once a day, an event with a probability of more than 50% will inevitably happen. Once a month, an event with a probability of more than 10% will inevitably happen. Once a year, an event with a probability of more than 1% will inevitably happen. The effect of a destined draw is so powerful. Qinfeng was a little surprised. He originally thought that this ability was only related to card drawing, but he didn't expect that it was directly related to fate and probability. Apart from anything else, as long as he uses this ability, Qinfeng's probability of learning Immortal Mode will immediately increase. The improvement is 100%. As long as a person is not completely unqualified, Qinfeng will be able to directly create an ascendant after using this ability. To put it simply, if he is short of money, he can go to the casino and play guessing. Even if you don't buy it with Tsunade, you can make a lot of money in one go. However, Qinfeng soon discovered that this ability was somewhat special, and he had no way of knowing the original success probability before using it. This setting immediately extinguished Qinfeng's idea of using this ability to practice Immortal Mode. Who knows what his success rate is in practicing Immortal Mode? If there is only a 1% success rate, then this ability will not be available within a year. The biggest advantage of Sage Mode is that it increases the intensity of ninjutsu, illusion, and taijutsu, and that senjutsu can cause damage to certain people who are resistant to chakra attacks. Overall, Immortal Mode is the icing on the cake. But it was destined that once this ability was activated, Qinfeng thought of countless maneuverable spaces in just a moment. The improvement that brought him was at least twice that of the Immortal Mode. While Qinfeng was thinking about these things, the White Snake Immortal had already transformed back into his original form when he saw Qinfeng signing a contract with Sanshenji. The white-scaled snake with an orb on its head and a pipe in its mouth was half lying on the huge platform. Everyone has different talents, and the level of magic they can practice is also different. Are you ready? The White Snake Immortal looked down at Qinfeng, and his voice came from all directions. Right here. Qinfeng looked around. This temple is indeed very big. It should be built according to the size of the White Snake Immortal. But to practice immortality and absorb natural chakra, isn't it best to go to the natural environment? Looks like you're ready. White Snake Immortal didn't say much, and exhaled a puff of smoke. A floor beneath Qinfang's feet began to tremble, and a protruding spiked rock rose dozens of meters against Qinfang, until it was eye level with White Snake Immortal. And just now, with Qinfang after signing the contract, the three goddesses floated into the air, waiting for their first contractor in thousands of years to practice magic in the distance. This is inorganic reincarnation. Qinfang maintained his balance on the stone slab, frowning slightly. This practice mode was somewhat familiar, and it was exactly the same as the way he remembered Naruto practicing at Miaomu Mountain. Are the methods of practicing immortality in the two places the same? The results are just different. Because the boundaries are different. It shouldn't be. Qinfang quickly thought that it was shown more than once in the original work that the psychic world is actually interconnected, and the distance is not too far. After Wan Shi died, Slug and Toad chatted together in the tavern of the psychic world. And in the final analysis, the immortal mode is to absorb natural energy. The natural energy is the same, so if you want different results, the cultivation methods must be different. You pass the previous tests, which shows that your heart is not controlled by desire. Now, sit on it, let go of all distractions, and try to sense the natural energy around you. White Snake Immortal slowly told Qinfang what he needed to do next. Is this really the case? Qinfang frowned slightly and sat cross-legged on the stone slab. With his palms facing the sky, Qinfang began to slowly feel the difference between the surrounding environment and the outside world. However, he did not abandon all distracting thoughts like the White Snake Immortal said. As time went by, Qinfang quickly sensed the existence of natural energy, but he did not directly absorb the natural energy into his body, preparing to get familiar with it for a while. However, before Qinfang could sense it, he felt two more on his shoulders. Hand pressed him down hard. What? Qinfang opened his eyes and looked behind him. Two monsters, an ox and a horse, were pressing his shoulders. The surroundings were gloomy. The original Longdi Cave Temple and the White Snake Immortal had long since disappeared. Illusion, or a fantasy? Qinfang frowned and felt something was wrong. At the same time, the White Snake Immortal and the three goddesses were outside watching Qinfang's experience in the illusion. The difference between fantasy and illusion is that fantasy can materialize semi-real virtual objects so that onlookers can also see them. What weird thing is this? Aikikijima Haim looked at Qinfang's encounter in the fantasy world and looked at White Snake Sage curiously. The other two people also looked over. The things produced in the fantasy realm come from the cultivators themselves. It seems that it has been too long since a cultivator has reached this point, and you have forgotten about it. White Snake Sage glanced at Aikikishima Haim and spoke slowly. The last Orochimaru who tried to practice senjutsu couldn't bear it just by inhaling the senjutsu smoke that he spit out, so naturally he didn't reach this step. Another on one side, Orochimaru came to the door with another man wearing a forehead protector with the word, oil, representing MT. Myoboku. The reason why Orochimaru suddenly disappeared just now was because he met this old friend who came from MT. Myoboku. Come in, Orochimaru, and the contractor from the Toad Kingdom. Before Orochimaru knocked on the door to ask for permission, the voice of the White Snake Sage rang in the ears of the two of them. The two looked at each other, opened the door, and walked into the Ryachi Cave Temple. As soon as they entered, they saw something going on in midair. Qinfang experiencing the illusion. Is he the one you brought? Jiraiya looked at Qinfang in the illusion, then turned to look at Orochimaru. You give the power of senjutsu to other people in the ninja village. What if he becomes an enemy in the future? Originally, Jiraiya came to Orochimaru just to know about the situation in Konoha, but he accidentally learned the third condition from him, so he followed him all the way here. Is this why you only taught ordinary ninjutsu to those children in a Megakure village? Orochimaru glanced at Jiraiya and asked calmly. Jiraiya was slightly startled when he heard the words, and then his face darkened. I taught them ninja skills, which are enough for them to survive in troubled times. Those who are too powerful power will make them lose their true nature. Haha, the two of us really have nothing in common. Orochimaru sneered twice, stopped communicating with Jiraiya, and looked up at Qinfang's illusion, the celestial art practice he once longed for. Everyone was staring at Qinfang in the illusion. Jiraiya now just hopes that Fang will fail. As a practitioner of immortal arts, he is deeply aware of the power of the immortal mode. Fang's reputation has become famous in the ninja world, and even he, a wanderer in various countries, has heard of it. Once you gain the power of immortality, your strength will definitely make a qualitative leap. In the illusion, Fang knew that he had fallen deeply into the illusion when he saw the sudden appearance of a bull-headed horse face and the King of Yama on a dark high throne. After all, in this world, the god of death is just an unconscious body that can be cut open at will, and King Yama is just the ability of Pain's hell realm. The prisoner Fang, a ninja from Sunagakur village, was alive for 22 years. He practiced immortality in Ryachi Cave and was killed by the backlash. He was mercenary, ruthless, and relied on his own strength to kill countless lives without mercy. Lawlessness, karma, and heinous crimes. Can you plead guilty? The King of Hell, in the high position, looked down at Fang, who was suppressed by the bull-headed horse face, and opened the trial with great momentum. I recognize you, sister. You are in the wrong place. This place is not yours to control. Fang shook his shoulders, breaking away from the restraints of the bull-headed horse-faced man. He stood up and patted his clothes. What do you mean? The King of Hell looked stiff, then asked angrily. Don't you think Anubis should be the judge of me? Besides, what qualifications do you have to judge me based on your personal feelings? Fang smiled softly and waved his hand, and a figure condensed on the ground. Gnosis, come and judge me, take my heart and put it on the scales. I don't dare, your majesty. Gnosis held the scepter in his hand and half knelt on the ground. What a joke. I am the judge of Hades, and I judge you based on the law of cause and effect, reincarnation, and the natural law of heaven and earth. Looks like the King of Hell, but in fact the judge's black face slapped the crowd angrily and shouted loudly. You are a joke. All I do is to survive. If I don't kill people on the battlefield, people will kill me. It's just that I am better than others. Fang sneered, took a step forward, noticed something, stopped, and continued. This is perfectly in line with the natural law of natural selection. It is the desire that makes a human being, not a stone. Nonsense. This judge has insight into people's hearts, so how can you explain that you are greedy for money and lust? The judge shouted angrily again. Greedy for money. I develop the economy of the country of wind and raise the living standards of everyone. Regarding business activities, I just put forward an idea and let others do it. After all, it's not that I'm greedy for money, it's that the money comes into my pocket on its own. As for lust, Fang shook his head and smiled, I just have a desire to collect. Besides, this is the way of biological continuation. If a single cell divides, why don't you accuse the single cell of being lustful? And why is he lustful? He is still an innocent boy. Doesn't he follow the basic laws when talking in this fantasy world? Listening to the conversation between Fang and the mysterious judge in the fantasy world, Jiraiya outside was already dumbfounded. Is there such a thing? Jiraiya forgot his purpose for a moment and hurriedly took out a small notebook from his pocket and recorded the inspiration in his mind. Hehehehe, that's great. The cold laughter of a mortal white snake echoed in the temple. A puff of smoke drifted by, and the illusion in front of Fang's eyes completely dissipated. Fang glanced at his half-foot on the stone slab, jumped down, landed on the ground, and looked towards White Snake Immortal. Isn't this the way to practice immortality? That's right, I exempted you from Tuanjinji's test, but I didn't say that you can skip it directly. Your performance exceeded my expectations. It seems that you have come to the right place. The White Snake Immortal exhaled a puff of smoke and said, the Toad clan's cultivation of celestial arts requires the abandonment of distracting thoughts and the purification of the 6 roots. On the contrary, Longdi Cave's magic requires practitioners to have strong obsessions. Therefore, Ryachi Cave Immortal Technique is far more dangerous than Miaomu Mountain Immortal Technique. Even if it can pass the previous test, it will be damaged here. The previous test seemed to be to get rid of your desires, but in fact it was just to check whether you could control your desires. Once you really get rid of distracting thoughts, then when you really start to sense the natural chakra, you will be directly assimilated by the natural energy because there are no distracting thoughts. Fang nodded slightly. He had already guessed this when he was in the illusion just now. But Jiraiya, who learned about the method of practicing Raichi Cave Immortal technique for the first time, couldn't help but frown. In his opinion, this kind of immortal skills cultivated in illusions will inevitably bring endless paranoia. So, what is the real method of practicing immortality? Fang glanced at Orochimaru and Jiraiya behind him, who had arrived here at some unknown time, and asked the White Snake Sage. I can give it to you immediately. But, you have another option. The White Snake Immortal spit out a huge scroll. At the same time, the huge orb above his head emitted a dazzling light, which instantly illuminated the originally dim temple like the white magic technique. The huge scroll is the method of practicing immortality in Longdi Cave. And the illuminated temple. Fang discovered that there were countless writings on the walls of the temple, as well as empty dark spaces. The light of the orb above the head of the White Snake Immortal gradually returned to normal, but the temple still remained, with a ray of light. You are qualified to make your own path, but before that, you need to stabilize yourself, choose 3 hidden grids, and take away the stones inside. In this regard, Fang didn't even look at the scroll and walked directly to the wall. When he planned to go to the 3 Holy Lands to practice the immortal mode, he had to find another way to absorb natural energy without resorting to specific methods. Since now that Longdi Cave itself can give him this opportunity, Fang will never choose the ordinary way of practicing immortality for the sake of stability. Of course, there is also a very important point. Unless the sage mode of Ryuji Cave is the perfect artificial human Mitsuki created by Orochimaru in the future, no matter how perfect it is, its appearance will still be ugly. Strength can be cultivated slowly, but being handsome takes a lifetime. It is precisely because of Fang's obsession that the ascended ones born in the sun disk can freely switch between ascension mode and normal mode. Triangles are the most stable shape, so choose 3. Fang looked at the series of hidden grids and had difficulty choosing for a moment. Each hidden grid above corresponds to a word, which represents an obsession and desire. Forget it, just these 2, choose one at random. Fang shook his head, walked to the 2 secret compartments at the front, reached in and took out a stone each. One secret compartment read, love. The other secret compartment read, hatred. Finally, Fang turned around. Circle, chose a direction, walked straight over, and took out a stone from the bonds secret box. Then what? After getting 3 seemingly ordinary stones, Fang turned to look at the White Snake Immortal. Then, you close your eyes and don't move. The White Snake Immortal breathed out a breath of thick mist, and the light of the orb on his head went out, and the temple returned to darkness. Click. Fang, who had his eyes closed, heard the approaching sound, frowned slightly, and suddenly felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. He opened his eyes suddenly. Fang only saw the huge snake head of the White Snake Immortal biting his shoulder and half of his body. A large amount of magical chakra poured into Fang's body from the wounds caused by the White Snake Immortal's sharp teeth. What's going on here? Isn't the White Snake Immortal going to kill him? Jiraiya looked at Orochimaru in surprise. Although he didn't want Fang to learn senjutsu, he didn't want him to die here. Otherwise, the alliance between Konoha village and Sunagakur village would be in vain. No, his talent is stronger than you and me, and the White Snake Immortal actually took action himself. Orochimaru also lost his calm expression abnormally, and looked at the scene in front of him in amazement. In the past, he just inhaled the magic chakra spitted out by White Snake Sennin, but his body couldn't bear it anymore. But now, White Snake Sennin actually directly pouring it into Fang's body. If it were an ordinary person, his body would have completely collapsed. This is why Jiraiya thought that White Snake Sage was killing Fang. Hiss, give me a hint, what do you need me to do later? Fang asked as he endured the pain of being constantly injected with celestial chakra. He had had enough of guessing. Wouldn't it be nice to try something more straightforward? Defeat the first 3 people you see. The voice of Immortal White Snake appeared next to Fang's ears. The 3 first enemies you see. You mean the first 3 you saw? Before Fang had time to think, the White Snake Immortal suddenly let go of his mouth and retreated quickly. At the same time, natural energy continued to pour out of the 3 wounds on Fang's body, and there was a special pulling feeling. Tisk. Fang felt something surged out of his body instantly. At the same time, the 3 stones that White Snake Immortal and Fang had been holding in their hands disappeared inadvertently. It seems that I have entered a fantasy world again. First time alive, second time familiar. Fang saw the black mist surrounding him and shook his sore shoulder from being bitten. Outside, the white snake sage changed back to the form of an old woman and returned to the cushion. Jiraiya looked at Fang in the black mist illusion was a little curious. White snake immortal, what will he encounter in the illusion? White snake sage glanced at Jiraiya. This toad messenger asked the same question as Ikikijima Haim just now. At the same time, she could also sense that Sangami Haim, who had entered the invisible state since the two came in, was not interested in this. They were also very curious. Maybe they had forgotten the previous trial because it had been so long, but this illusion was the first time in their 1,000 years of life. Everyone's choices, hearts, and memories are different, and the enemies and selves that appear will also be different. White Snake Immortal said lightly. The illusion of Ryachi Cave is actually the same as the illusion of Turtle Island in Union Village. The difference is that Ryachi Cave has White Snake Immortal and Sanshenji who can control the illusion to a certain extent. Is that so? It's a good subject. Jiraiya took a pen and wrote it down in his small notebook. The great Toad Sage once predicted that Jiraiya would travel to the ninja world and write books. Now that Jiraiya has learned about the prophecy, he is fulfilling his destiny. And now, Jiraiya's most famous book is not the story of intimacy with heaven, but the story of tenacity and perseverance. The death of Namikaze Minato in the future will be the last straw for Jiraiya. Only then will he fall into decadence and turn to the world. Put your energy into making out in heaven. White Snake Immortal, I have a question, does one person really have so many personalities? Jiraiya asked doubtfully. Fang in the illusion was shrouded in mist, but outside onlookers could see it clearly. The celestial chakra injected into Fang's body by the White Snake Sage was combined with the 3 illusion stones. 3. Fang, clones are formed with different postures. The 3, Fang, have different expressions. You can tell at a glance which one corresponds to love and which one corresponds to hatred. But it is precisely because of the completely different postures of the 3 people, which made Jiraiya feel that Fang was schizophrenic. It seems that Meowmushin has chosen a contractor who is not very smart. White Snake Sento Snake Eyes glanced at Jiraiya. A person is generous to friends but stingy to strangers, enthusiastic to relatives but indifferent to enemies, trustful of companions but suspicious of others. Is there any problem? Looks like you've become even more stupid writing your crappy book. Orochimaru didn't expect Jiraiya to ask such a question, so he mocked him after coming back to his senses. Jiraiya was immersed in conceiving the specific personalities of the characters in the novel, but he forgot that people themselves are diverse and complex products. Just like Nagato and Conan were pure and kind in Jiraiya's eyes, he would never have imagined that they would become the leaders of the most terrorist organization. In the illusion, Fang felt that his body was automatically floating in one direction. This feeling is like having a lucid dream. The surrounding black mist gradually began to change color, from pure black to dark green, becoming more permeable. Soon, Fang saw a figure in the black mist. According to the White Snake Immortal, he needed to defeat the 3 people he saw for the first time, which should be the figures in front of him. However, Fang suddenly felt a strong pull, as if he was attracted by the sky, and was sucked towards the black figure. Does the opponent have the Samsara Eye? No, this is not gravity. Fang tried to summon gravel to drag him down, but found that he failed. Boom! Fang's whole body crashed into the black shadow. At this moment, the black fog dissipated. The surrounding environment turned into a wilderness under the night sky. A bright moon hung in the night sky, and Fang merged into the black shadow at this moment, gradually turning into a physical entity. In front of him, a blonde black figure walked slowly. It seems that you are the opponent I want to deal with. Fang saw everything coming when he saw the blonde figure approaching. The black figure he saw at first sight was himself. The blonde figure did not show its appearance, and its whole body was shrouded in black, with only a pair of eyes and hair exposed. But with just these 2 characteristics, Fang could tell that the illusion directly transformed him into an Uzumaki Naruto as his first opponent. It was a pity that no matter how much celestial chakra the White Snake Sage had injected into him, is far from enough to transform Uzumaki Naruto in 6 paths mode. This first enemy should not be difficult to deal with. Can't move. Fang was about to strike first, but suddenly found that he couldn't control himself. At this time, the blonde black figure opposite spoke. Grandpa has already told me, I must stop you. For my friends, for everyone. Uzumaki Naruto stopped and clenched his fist seriously. Come on then. Fang slowly stood up and said. Fang was confused, but soon realized the problem. How come this is the same as the plot in an RPG game, where operations are not allowed without passing the plot? Stop it, Grandpa said, she has no humanity at all. Look back at your companions, your subordinates, are you going to give up all this? Uzumaki Naruto saw Fang stand up and shouted in grief and indignation, companion. Fang looked over and saw a large number of dark shadows standing densely in the distance. This should represent the Ninja Alliance. So, the plot is that he becomes the big boss. She is the only moonlight, watching over my long journey. Since she left, there is only darkness ahead. Fang slowly raised his head and looked at the night sky. She is waiting at the end of the night. My queen, my love, my scorched earth shattered heart. Detect the special environment and activate the temporary template, Fogo, the King of Destruction. The system prompt suddenly rang in Fang's ears, and at the same time, he felt that the control of his body was back in his hands. A force surged into his body. The vast scorched earth. Fang took a deep breath, raised his arms, and the thick black mist from the Shadow Island instantly filled the battlefield. The ninja coalition behind Uzumaki Naruto was shrouded in the black mist. They were wearing the tailed beast chakra coat borrowed from the Nine Tails. They were swallowed up instantly. Under the painful wails of everyone, green crowns condensed on their foreheads. Let them go. Seeing this scene, Uzumaki Naruto was so angry that he rushed forward. Is this your companion? Fang sneered. Puppets under my control, fight for me. Soul-eating night. The ninja coalition controlled by the black mist all stood behind Fang, and countless ninjutsu blasted at Uzumaki Naruto who wanted to save them. Boom! Uzumaki Naruto was severely bombarded to the ground. Countless ninjas attacked him like a tide. But he knew that these people were just being controlled and he couldn't kill them. It can only keep adding to the wounds. Stop it. Fang gave an order, and the ruined legion stopped attacking. Looking at the tired and seriously injured Uzumaki Naruto, Fang walked in front of him, and the black mist condensed into a long sword in his hand. You want me to give up on her to save the world? Then I will also give you a choice, give up their lives, and I will do as you wish. Under the control of Fang, the two figures knelt in front of him, as if they were being executed by the executioner. Uzumaki Naruto, seeing his former companions right in front of him, he clenched his fists angrily. How? When it's your turn, you can't make a choice. Just kill me, as you wish. Hi. The ruined blade penetrated Uzumaki Naruto's heart and turned his body into dust. The end of the first illusion. It doesn't seem difficult. Slowly returning to the black mist, Fang was mentally prepared. Due to the limitations of the magic chakra, the enemy will be weakened no matter how strong it is in Fang's mind. Just like this time, Uzumaki Ming people, according to the setting, had already seen the state of the Six Paths Immortal Queen, but was still easily defeated. Fang even specially played a mouth escape with him in advance to adapt to prevent being attacked by Byatean mouth in the future. But what happened to the previous temporary template? Fang was wondering when the system's voice sounded again. The temporary template of the Ruined King is over, and you will get a special item, the Blade of the Ruined King. At the same time, a faint green long sword lay quietly in Fang's mind, and he could take it out with just a thought. Fighting against the world for the sake of the one you love seems to be a good subject. Jiraiya outside didn't notice at all that the ninja who appeared in the illusion was familiar, and was still taking notes with a pen. The second act of the illusion began. With the previous preparations, Fang was very calm. The plot this time is he brought peace to the ninja world in advance, but the final result was that the ninjas were like wolves without fangs. Even with Fang's reminder, most people only thought that it was unfounded and were fascinated by the luxury of peace. In the end, the distant Otsutsuki clan had not yet arrived, and after nearly destroying several great ninja villages on the moon, Fang stood up. Since you have chosen to give up the future, rather than letting you become the food and nourishment of the Otsutsuki clan, it is better to die now. At least the planet can be saved. The world needs a villain, so I will be the villain. This time, there is no temporary template activated. This endless hatred comes from the dark sword demon. If this is the case, I will never show mercy. After Fang read the plot, he couldn't help but feel a little heavy. In reality, his goal from the beginning was the Otsutsuki clan. If he hadn't grasped this goal at the beginning, or ignored this, maybe it would be like in the plot. Same, end the war early. Even if there are 3 wars going on in the outside world, Fang is not sure whether a similar situation will happen in the future because of his changes. It should be visible from outside, right? Then I hope you can be prepared to be my enemy at any time. Fang glanced at the end of the black mist. He knew clearly that Orochimaru and Jiraiya were watching his battle in the illusion outside. Then, let them be afraid of the darkness. This time the opponent is Indra. Of course, Luo Zili's Uchiha Sasuke is also a weakened version due to the limitations of Senjutsu chakra. Behind Sasuke stood the Uchiha clan and the ninja alliance that reappeared. In the plot, due to the interference of Fang, the Uchiha clan was not exterminated. He has gone crazy and we must kill him. Sasuke, beside him, his brother said to everyone with a serious face. Who do you want to kill? Boom. At some point, Fang had started the Great Destruction, descended from the sky with devil wings, and grabbed Itachi. Without any mercy, Fang dug out Itachi's eyes to prevent him from using Izana. Chi. The next moment, before Itachi screamed, Fang grabbed his throat. Let him go. At this time, a golden-haired figure kicked over from the side. Fang raised his other hand and grabbed his throat. In the fantasy world, except for the main character Fang saw first, the other auxiliary characters will be even worse. Let them go. I would let them go completely. Fang crushed the 2 people's throats completely under Sasuke's angry and horrified gaze. Tisk, tisk. Something even more frightening happened. Fang kicked away the heads of the 2 people and pulled out their spines. 2 sharp blades formed. Seeing this scene, all the ordinary ninjas around were so frightened that they lost their fighting spirit. There was no such cruel scene even during the war, let alone these peacetime ninjas who had lost their fangs. Even the protagonist Sasuke also collapsed on the ground, covering his head in pain, unable to accept it for a while. Indra, let me hear your call for friendship, let me hear your howl for your brothers. Listen carefully to the screams of your people, and watch carefully for your destruction. Fang did not decisively deal with his opponents like before, but slaughtered the Uchiha clan who existed because of him in the plot. In the end, after the last Uchiha fell, Fang used the spine of Itachi. It runs through Sasuke. Just as Superman Kal-El's greatest weakness is the kindness his father taught him, what limits Fang is actually the bottom line and humanity he retains. At this moment, Jiraiya is watching from the outside. Already sluggish. What kind of madman did you give your magic to? Jiraiya turned around, grabbed Orochimaru's collar, and looked at him angrily. This is a fantasy of hatred, and it is normal to have such images. Orochimaru calmly slapped Jiraiya's hand away, took a step back and said. After Jiraiya was reminded, he finally calmed down, but looking at Fang in the illusion, he still had a complicated expression. No, we still have to be careful about him, his heart is too dark. There is darkness inside everyone, unless you are not human. At this time, Fang suddenly walked out of the black mist and looked at Jiraiya who was talking calmly. Quote ? Orochimaru and Jiraiya were stunned, and even White Snake Sage frowned. Fang clearly had another trial, so why did he just come out? It seems that my feeling is not wrong. No wonder the illusion feels so weird. The White Snake Immortal stared at Fang who came out of the illusion with a pair of snake eyes. Only the White Snake Immortal noticed the abnormality, because she was the only one who had witnessed the activation of the illusion. Others, even the 3 goddess, I haven't seen what the original illusion looks like, so naturally I can't notice the difference. White Snake Immortal, what do you mean? Orochimaru saw that White Snake Sennin seemed to know the situation and turned around to ask. The illusion just now was more like a temporary real world. Immortal White Snake was very puzzled. The illusion of Longdi Cave should not have such power at all. Why did this happen? After Fang walked out of the illusion, he didn't understand why the others had such strange expressions at first. After listening to the exchanges between several people, I roughly understood the situation. His third trial didn't show that, even in terms of time, it only happens in an instant to outsiders. It should be the reason for temporary template activation. Fang watched several people guessing there, and he also had an idea in his heart. In the third trial, he also activated the temporary template just like the first time. As for why the phenomenon of disappearing into thin air did not occur the first time, White Snake Immortal said that the illusion gave her a sense of reality. So, Fang could regard the illusion as a parallel world. But in the Dragon Vein incident, Fang had already confirmed that there was no parallel world in this world. This means that all effects will be repaired. The first, parallel world, comes from the future, so it will be repaired into the illusion generated by massive chakra just like Naruto and Yamato who came to Lulin. 3 times, it was past. People outside now are completely unaware of what happened in the illusion, which means that what happened inside has become real history. Naturally, it is impossible for Fang to occupy any more time. This is why in the eyes of outsiders, Fang came out directly after completing the second trial. So, is this how the wedge on my body came from? It is precisely because of completing this history that Fang understood why he, an insignificant ninja of Sunagakur village, had something that could end the era of ninjas. Before, Fang guessed that the source of the wedge was Otsutsuki Kagaya, or the Otsutsuki Ura clan who traveled through time. There is actually another person on Earth, Otsutsuki Ashiki. However, according to Fang's impression, Otsutsuki Ashiki has become Shenyang. From the fact that there was no description of him in the original Shippuden plot, it can be seen that Otsutsuki Ashiki kept a low profile as much as possible. Even during the Boruto period, Otsutsuki Ashiki wanted to take Kawaki away. What Naruto said was, "I don't want to conflict with you." The reason is that if Otsutsuki Ashiki enters a fighting state, his lifespan will be less than 1 hour. If there is no next reincarnation during this period, then he will die completely. He has to keep a low profile and look for reincarnation. For thousands of years, Otsutsuki Ashiki has only found Kawaki. Logically speaking, there is no reason for Otsutsuki Ashiki to carve it on an ordinary ninja. But after this history, Fang has been able to determine that there is a 90% chance that the wedge on his body came from Otsutsuki Ashiki who died early. It was him who, together with Kagaya Otsutsuki, changed the Ichiki from a hunter to a prey. Kagaya was supposed to be the only one to make a sneak attack. After Otsutsuki Ashiki was half devoured by the 10 tails, he used the pupil technique to escape and survive to Boruto. But with the help of Fang, Otsutsuki Ashiki finally escaped with only 1 head left. In this state, Otsutsuki Ashiki could not even maintain his long life when he was about to end. Fang, on the timeline. He didn't know what happened to the person in front of him who had almost the same appearance and chakra as the person next to the betrayer. He had lost all his power, or whether he just belonged to that person. Descendants. But Ichiki didn't find Kawaki and had no choice. He placed his last hope on Fang, leaving only 1 head behind. Of course, he didn't die completely. When the time comes, he can be reborn through Wedge, and then take revenge on the betrayer Kagaya. Unfortunately, with the activation of the templates of the Desert Emperor and the Darkborn Sword Demon, Wedge is completely wiped out. Otsutsuki Ashiki died without a sound. This time the doubts were cleared. Fang looked at his flawless white palm and clenched his fist. Finally, Fang completely confirmed his guess. He discovered something. The blade of the ruined king he had just obtained disappeared. If the illusion is just an illusion, the sword should be stuck on the ground after everything is over. Now, the blade of the destroyed king should remain in the past. By the way, Heizetsu's ability won't be repaired like this, right? An idea suddenly popped up in Fang's mind. The broken king can control the will of others. If the black Zetsu thrown out by Kagaya before being sealed was the result of her own will plus the broken king left by Fang. The blade on the Shadow Island is made of black mist. After all, even the Six-Path Sage and Otsutsuki Hamura were the products of her birth through the power of her own chakra and the sacred tree. So it doesn't seem surprising that Black Zetsu was born in this way and can possess and control weak-willed people. So, Has he acquired the magical power? Jiraiya looked at Qinfang warily. He didn't see the third illusion, but just the second illusion of hatred made him deeply afraid of Qinfang. No, his power encompasses Raichi Cave Immortal Technique, but it is not just Raichi Cave Immortal Technique. He must leave here before he can truly start practicing. White Snake Sage didn't care about Jiraiya's hostility towards Qinfang, and even enjoyed it. He also took the initiative to tell Qinfang's situation. After all, she herself had trouble with the Great Toad Sage. If the two had a dispute, she is happy to see the contractors of the Toad clan defeated. As for Qinfang's immortal mode, starting to practice in the spiritual world with abundant natural energy will be counterproductive. Miaomu Mountain is suitable for Toad to practice immortal arts. Fang is a human, so his senjutsu must be returned to the ninja world. Want to leave Longdi Cave? Qinfang came back to his senses and nodded with understanding. No wonder he had completed 3 illusions, but found that the induction of natural energy had weakened. Etc. Just when Qinfang was about to leave directly, Jiraiya called out to him. Something's wrong. Qinfang stopped and turned his head slightly. I heard that under your instruction, the Kingdom of Wind is cooperating with the Kingdom of Rain. Jiraiya took a deep breath and clapped a hand on his chest. If anything goes wrong, you can come to me and don't interact with those 3 children care about. Oh, so you still remember them. But why should I promise you? Qinfang raised his eyebrows, turned around formally, crossed his arms in front of him, and looked at Jiraiya. Jiraiya's expression froze, and he realized that Qinfang was not a Konoha ninja, let alone his subordinate, and Qinfang's status in Sunagakur village is far higher than his status as a Sannin in Konoha. If I have nothing to say, I will leave. Qinfang saw that Jilai couldn't explain the reason and was about to leave. Wait a moment. Jiraiya hurriedly spoke, glanced at Orochimaru, then at White Snake Sage, gritted his teeth, and decided to speak out. The Great Toad Sage gave me a prophecy, saying that I would travel around the ninja world to create, and my disciples would bring changes to the ninja world. This prophecy. After Orochimaru heard Jiraiya's words, he subconsciously looked at White Snake Sage. That old toad likes predictions the most. As for whether they are accurate or not, who knows? Although White Snake Immortal didn't say it directly, Orochimaru understood it. White Snake Immortal and Big Toad Immortal were so unresponsive and still didn't say that the other party's predictions were inaccurate, which means that so far, Big Toad Immortal's predictions have come true. So, do you think that among the 3 children in Yuyan village back then, there was the son of prophecy? Orochimaru looked at Jiraiya with a slight frown. There was something weird about his instinctive feeling. If he really is the child of the prophecy, wouldn't Minato Namikaze, a rising star, be more qualified than the 3 war orphans of unknown origin? No, I don't know who is the child of prophecy, Minato or them, but I have a duty to take responsibility for them. Jiraiya shook his head and said. It was an exception for him to tell the Big Toad Sage's prophecy. Knowing Orochimaru's character, it was absolutely impossible for him to say that Nagato had the Rinnegan. Not to mention that there was another person present at the scene. Qinfang. Who knows if Qinfang will persecute his former disciples for the legendary eyes after learning this news. Bringing changes to the ninja world. Qinfang chuckled and stepped forward. Then have you ever asked what kind of changes are needed in the ninja world? Peace. Jiraiya looked seriously into Qinfang's eyes and said, Minato and Nagato are both peace-loving children. I understand them. No matter who is the son of the prophecy, they will bring peace to the ninja world. Peace, hee. You do not believe. Jiraiya frowned when he saw Qinfang laughing. No, of course I believe it, after all I have met both of them. Qinfang shook his head slightly with a smile. Jiraiya was still worried that Nagato and the others would be led bad by cooperating with Sunagakur village. In fact, the one who would really destroy the kind and peace-loving Nagato was Jiraiya has always loved Konoha. It's just a pity that Nagato didn't know this until his death. Otherwise, it would not only be Sasuke who would seek revenge from Danzo. He would probably be the first to invade. Time to solve the root problem first. So what are you laughing at? Jiraiya calmed down and asked. If Qinfang wasn't laughing because he didn't believe the prophecy, then he was laughing because of peace. Is the man in front of him a war madman? Just as Jiraiya was thinking, Qinfang had already turned around. He left, leaving only one sentence. Your faith has blinded you. There has never been any son of prophecy. We can only save ourselves. These words that echoed in the temple made Jiraiya stay in place. He had always thought that Qinfeng's heart was filled with darkness, but he never expected that he could say such heavy words. In this way, Qinfeng also yearned for peace. But why did he use the word rescue? Jiraiya fell into thought. He did bring changes to the kingdom of wind with his own strength. Orochimaru looked at Qinfeng's leaving figure and said slowly. On the other side, Qinfeng has left Longdi Cave. If nothing else happens, he will never go to that place again in the future. However, he was very lucky that he went to Longdi Cave instead of Miaomu Mountain to seek immortal skills. He didn't want to listen to the Big Toad Fairy's prophecies and his own destiny. Qinfeng knew that whether it was the prophesied son who brought about change, in Jiraiya's words, or the blue-eyed boy who shouted and played with 9 beasts, during the 6 Paths Sage period, they were all referring to Uzumaki Naruto. He didn't tell Jiraiya, and he didn't take it to heart. It's not that he doesn't believe in the prophecy, but that he doesn't believe in Uzumaki Naruto and the change in the prophecy. Qinfeng is familiar with the history of the ninja world and what will happen in the future. It is precisely because of this that he understands that the so-called peace brought by Uzumaki Naruto is essentially no different from the peace brought by Senju Hashirama. Rather than saying that all the people in the ninja villages understood each other, it was better to say that everyone lost the desire to fight as they watched the Konoha ninjas kill and seal the enemies who destroyed the world. Let's look at peacetime. From the end of the Third Ninja War to the beginning of the Fourth Ninja War, the ninja world remained relatively peaceful for nearly 20 years. After the Fourth Ninja War ended and the Otsutsuki clan invaded, the ninja world had only been peaceful for 15 years. It can even be said that an ordinary ninja war, that is, a battle between ninjas, may cause many casualties, but it is not too serious. But what is the change brought about by the Son of Prophecy? The Otsutsuki clan is ready to destroy the world at every turn. Although it is said that regardless of whether Uzumaki Naruto pursues a peace policy or not, the Otsutsuki clan will eventually arrive. But when people are asked to choose, they would really rather start a normal 5th ninja war than be randomly crushed to death by the Otsutsuki clan as insects. At least for the former, their fate is in their own hands, not in the hands of an incombustible object. Therefore, Qinfeng will not believe any prophecies, and he will not believe Uzumaki Naruto's other words in the future. I'm back, let's settle Kushina and Izumi first. Qinfeng looked up at the sun hanging high in the sky and walked towards home. There is no rush to practice immortality. In the original work, Quan opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan by doing genin tasks within a few years. Qinfeng I won't let her experience the same slow growth. Did they take a mission and go out? Qinfeng frowned when he learned the whereabouts of the 2 from Sammy. Going out at this time, even within the Kingdom of Wind, was not a good choice. What an old taskmaster. Qinfeng stood on the roof of the Cage building and looked into the distance. He learned from Yikang that Kushina was dragged here by Izumi to do the task. It was said that it would allow the 2 of them to familiarize themselves with life in the Kingdom of Wind in advance. So Yikang issued a D-level mission to the 2 of them. Since the Kingdom of Wind began to develop at full strength, there have been more and more low-level tasks such as D-level and C-level. What about transportation materials and escorts? The mission that Kushina and Izumi accepted was to escort a construction team to another oasis city in the north. Logically speaking, with the rumors of the Forbidden Land in the desert and the outbreak of the Third Ninja War outside, the Kingdom of Wind should be very safe. But there is no absolute in everything. For example, Danzo, the 1,000-year Pot King, probably wasn't thinking about dealing with the 3 battles well, but was thinking about his own set of things. In the original plot, not long after Obito's death, and before the 3 wars were completely over, Danzo and Hanzo jointly forced Yahiko to death. It's hard to guarantee that Danzo made the move on the spur of the moment, rather than having made arrangements to detect intelligence some time ago. Then, once Izumi and Kushina, who are heading to the northern city, encounter the roots of Konoha, it is inevitable that Danzo will not have some ideas to destroy the blood inheritance limit that spreads. As for the rumors about the Forbidden Land in the desert, what taboos does Danzo dare not touch? As long as it's not him who dies and the root members are gone, he can just recruit again. Thinking of this, Qinfeng disappeared instantly. Yahiko's life and death has nothing to do with him, but the two babies Izumi and Kushina have just exchanged cannot have anything happen to them. Although Yi Kang specially sent a Junin to follow him secretly for insurance, Danzo's subordinates, if nothing else, were still very fierce. Once the Jonin doesn't notice the problem first and is solved by a sneak attack, it will be troublesome. As this wind town, so many people. Outside an oasis city, Kushina stood on tiptoe and looked at the people who were constructing the track in the distance. She was a little confused. I saw many people like this along the way. What are they doing? This is the motor Tron track that Master Qinfang requested to lay. It is said that with this, ordinary people can travel between the north and south borders of the Kingdom of Wind in one day. The leading architect wiped the sweat from his forehead and explained. Emotional train. Qinfang came up with the name, Back to Nature, after excluding trains, thunder trains, water wheels, windmills and trams. Train. Is it the same as a carriage? Kushina looked at the rails and couldn't imagine it at all. We don't know this either, but once the first batch of tracks are laid, we should be able to see Master Qinfang's foresight. Another young architect said with admiration. Okay, this is your mission reward, we are going to work. The architect leader took out a scroll, handed it to Kushina, and led a team of people to the construction site. Well, Koizumi, let's go. Kushina took the scroll and patted Quan who was following behind her. It's strange, it was very quiet along the way and I didn't encounter any enemies. Walking in the desert, Kushina muttered. In the country of fire, even though she had almost never left the village before, she encountered bandits twice and ninjas once just on the way to the country of wind. Isn't it bad to have no enemies? Quan asked weakly. In her eyes, this red-haired girl from the same village seemed a little too confident. It was completely different from the few times she saw her occasionally in her memory. It was as if she had come here and released her restraints. Same. Certainly. Just as Kushina was about to answer, she suddenly frowned, hugged Izumi and closed her eyes. Be careful, a stranger is approaching quickly. Kushina said with her eyes closed. What? Quan opened his big dark eyes. Not talking to you. Kushina opened her eyes and looked at the position of the Junin who had followed them all the way. The Sunagakur Anbu Junin who was listening to the conversation between the two in the dark couldn't help but be startled, with a shocked expression under the mask, so strong. Perception ability, no wonder Master Qinfang specifically requested it. But the enemy in her mouth. Before the Anbu Junin started to investigate, several black figures suddenly appeared not far away. Due to the special environment of the desert, there were very few obstacles, so she discovered it immediately. Right next to this female Anbu when the Jonin was about to take action, she suddenly sensed something and turned around. Kushina was standing behind her with a smile on her face. You. The female Junin was slightly startled and looked back into the distance. Izumi and Kushina were still there. It's the shadow clone, Kushina explained with a smile. He used his shadow clone without me noticing, and then got close behind me. It was amazing. The female Junin had some ups and downs in her heart. She just noticed the footsteps of one person, and thought it was an enemy approaching, but she didn't expect that there were two people when she turned around. She actually only noticed Uchiha Izumi approaching. Ding, bang, don't take action yet, let me see who the enemy is and what their purpose is. Hearing the sound in the distance, Kushina's expression changed, she grabbed the female Jonin's arm and hid together. Oh, it seems I overlooked it. In the sky, Qinfang was overlooking the situation below. Everyone ignored Kushina because of her girlish appearance. Even Qinfang subconsciously thought that Kushina was about the same strength as Izumi and still needed to grow. In fact, Kushina is a whole generation taller than Izumi, and her current girlish appearance is just because of the sealing technique used on her all the time. At the same time, it is also for this reason that the current Kushina is even stronger than the normally developed Kushina in the original work. It needs to be much stronger. The continuous use of sealing techniques for more than 10 years means that the proficiency of sealing techniques of the Uzumaki clan has been greatly improved. At the same time, using sealing techniques on oneself is equivalent to adding a terrifying burden to oneself. Kushina floated the yin seal under her red hair with the wind. Her physique and chakra must have reached a high level. With strong perception similar to Kagura's inner eye, as well as the sealing technique to hide one's own aura, and skilled shadow clones, what other means are there? It was precisely because she wanted to see Kushina's true strength that Qinfeng did not choose to take action, but continued to watch from the air. However, no matter how strong Kushina was, her combat experience was still almost zero. Otherwise, she would not know how to do it. She only used her super perceptual ability to search on the plain, ignoring the thousand winds in the sky. Unexpectedly, Sunagakur village didn't take these two people to heart at all. It seems that we can easily complete the additional tasks Danzo-sama ordered us to do. The three masked root members landed on a boulder, overlooking Uchiha Izumi and Uzumaki Kushina below. However, does the Uzumaki clan also need to be solved? The root member standing on the left looked at the leader in the middle and asked. Sometimes too much smoothness is not a good thing. The additional task Danzo gave them was to explore the Omegakure village and get rid of the remaining ones if they had the chance. But Danzo didn't mention what to do if he encountered Uzumaki Kushina, who was also sent. I have already conveyed the information to Danzo-sama and am waiting. Before the middle part of the sentence could be finished, General suddenly closed his mouth, formed a seal with his hands, and pressed them to the ground. A scroll appears. Danzo-sama's order: preserve the whirlpool and act immediately. The root member opened the scroll, checked the contents, and gave orders to the two people next to him. It seemed that Danzo was still afraid. Qinfeng, who was in the air, probably saw the contents of the scroll clearly and couldn't help but smile. He chose to erase Uchiha Izumi and let go of Uzumaki Kushina. Firstly, Danzo valued the power of the sharingan more and the blood of the Uzumaki clan. It's not that important. Secondly, it's because Kushina, as a member of the Uzumaki clan, has been winning Oscars for more than 10 years. She plays a character who is weak and cannot even become a ninja. Of course, these two reasons alone. It is impossible to let Danzo, who is willing to kill by mistake, to let go. After all, Danzo is afraid of erasing two exchange chips at once, causing the Sunagakur village to break up, even if they can pretend to be other ninjas. The ninjas of the village did it, and in turn accused Sunagakur of poor care. There was a bottom line. If one of them died, it should be the limit. The three root members jumped down, and the one on the left used it on Kushina. After using the heart turn technique, Kushina fell to the ground without the ability to resist. At the same time as Kushina fell, another root had arrived behind Izumi holding a kunai and scratching. Hit her throat. Doppelganger. When several root members saw this scene, their expressions under the masks changed drastically. Among them, the Yamanaka clan, who used the heart turn jutsu on Kushina, hurriedly withdrew his ninjutsu and began to sense the surrounding situation. This is the secret technique of a clan in Konoha Mountain. They are good at perception, and we can't hide anymore. Quan covered her mouth and reminded in a low voice. Then, just when Kushina was about to go out with the female Junin and have a head-on confrontation, a figure slowly fell from the sky. No, it's a desert tyrant, leave quickly. Seeing the appearance of Qinfeng, several root members were even more panicked. Now they are sure that Qinfeng used his shadow clone to fish and deliberately lured them to appear. The leading ninja immediately closed his hands, and the shadows under his feet spread into the air. Shadow binding technique. Psychic art. The other person took this opportunity, bit his finger, and channeled a huge ladybug. Come up. The two jumped on the ladybug. The root member of the Nara clan released his restraints and hurriedly jumped on. Desert tyrant. I don't look like a ceratopsian or a Bangala. Don't give me random nicknames. Qinfeng touched his face, then looked at the fleeing people. And just by letting you escape like this, wouldn't the taboo of the desert forbidden area be broken? The taboo that the third Raikage paid for with his life was broken by 3 Jonin. He agreed, but the third Raikage also didn't agree. King Kong blockade. Before Qinfeng took action, dozens of golden chains sprang out from the ground, locking the giant ladybug and the 3 root ninjas on it. No need to look, it was Kushina who heard Qinfeng's words and couldn't help but take action. Qinfeng didn't need to expose himself at all. He could directly kill the 3 root ninjas in the air. Even if he was exposed, he would not be hit by the slow shadow binding technique and summoned a few sand soldiers at their feet. Can be solved instantly. The reason why he didn't take action was firstly to let Kushina and Izumi, especially Uchiha Izumi, see the true face of Konoha. Secondly, he wanted to see if Kushina had any other moves. Sure enough, the Vajra blockade that could block the tailed beast was shot directly from Kushina's young palm. 3 Jonin and 1 psychic beast were completely unable to resist and were completely blocked. Why did everyone just leave for 2 days? Uchiha Izumi looked at the 3 ninjas who were pushed into the desert by Fang, covering his mouth with tears brewing in his eyes. She was not crying for these ninjas, but for herself. Yamanaka, Nara and Aburame, these 3 families represented half of Konoha. How could they be so ruthless to her? And listening to their conversations, it appeared that they were not acting on their own, but had even taken over a mission from a high-level official. Kushina didn't react much to this. Ever since she was affected by Fang's words, she has seen through the methods of Konoha's top brass. Koizumi, your eyes. Kushina withdrew the King Kong blockade and turned around to comfort Uchiha Izumi, but found that her eyes had changed. At this time, Fang also happened to finish dealing with the 3 rude ninjas and came to them. Seeing this scene, Fang was immediately speechless. Can the talent of 3 Magatama be unlocked just by doing genin missions? Fang raised his head and glanced in the direction of eastern Konoha. Yes, because of the assassination of these 3 rude ninjas, Uchiha Izumi directly opened the sharingan. If this is converted to Uchiha Sasuke, it is equivalent to the Uchiha being annihilated. Once. It can be said that the deal with Konoha was completely successful. Kushina and Izumi brought him surprises one after another even though Fang did nothing. After all, it has not been verified. It is just a few scenes of the original plot, and there may be loopholes. But the current situation fully proves that as long as Uchiha Izumi can survive the night of genocide, she will basically open the kaleidoscope, chakra eye. Don't be discouraged. Under the cover of Konoha, there will inevitably be dark shadows. Fang swept through Quan's black hair and caressed her cheek, but under the sun, I will try my best to bring you light. Well, Quan lowered his head, his cheeks a little hot. When Kushina saw this scene, she came over with some dissatisfaction and looked at Fang with her lips bulging. Why can't I be comforted? Me too. You're not depressed either. Fang was a little helpless about Kushina's inexplicable jealousy. Besides, Izumi is still a child now. Okay. Does Kushina have the body of a child, and her personality has been retained? Master Fang. The female Anbu Junin greeted Fang. Okay, your mission has been completed, go back first. Fang waved his hand and said. Yes. The female Anbu nodded and disappeared instantly. With Fang personally escorting the 2 back, there would definitely be no danger. Only 3 people were left walking leisurely in the vast desert. Kushina finally found the time. I was able to tell you something that I never had the chance to tell Fang before. Originally, Kushina was only willing to tell Fang alone, but after Uchiha Izumi experienced this assassination, she must have become one of her own, so Kushina did not hide it. It turns out that we Uchiha are not the only ones who are alienated. After Kushina's story was told, Uchiha Izumi immediately understood. He admired and felt pitiful for Kushina's hiding for so many years. Although their Uchiha clan was marginalized, at least they still had fellow clan members. So, I came here for nothing. Fang shrugged slightly. With Kushina's strength, surprise, and the Anbu who left just now, it is very simple to deal with those 3 people. Just like just now, Fang essentially just robbed, in the end, head. What made those 3 Konoha ninjas lose their ability to resist was Kushina's King Kong blockade. If you don't come, won't you worry about Quan? Kushina rolled her eyes. She can protect herself, but she lacks combat experience. She can protect herself, but she can't protect others. She can easily control those 3 people solely because of their attention. It's all on Fang. Indeed, Quan is still too young now. If he were an ordinary person, he would still be in the ninja school. But now, she was about to be assassinated by Konoha Anbu. Fang said while touching his chin. When Kushina looked at him and waited for his next words, Fang suddenly changed his tone. But, I don't want to restrict her freedom and protect her like a baby. What should I do? Fang never believed in the idea that a tree that is beautiful in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. How can you see a rainbow without going through wind and rain? A protected ninja, in the final analysis, just prolongs his death time. Unless Fang chooses to let Uchiha Quan will always be hidden and protected. That would only allow Quan to grow up quickly. Kushina tilted her head and looked into Quan's eyes beside her. Since Izumi can open the sharingan so easily, she must have good talent. Didn't you say that no one knows the sharingan better than you? Then you come and train her. A few people were almost back to Sand Hidden Village at this time. They had already reached the door. Fang suddenly stopped. Actually, I have a way to give Quan the power to protect himself. Then you say it. Kushina touched Fang's forehead and looked at him in confusion. Aren't I worried that Xiaonana is not balanced in your mind? Fang touched Kushina's head and said with a smile. What, am I so stingy? Kushina slapped Fang's hand away and made an angry gesture. Seeing that Fang still smiled and said nothing, Kushina pursed her lips and looked seriously into Fang's eyes. If you have used whatever method you can to improve Quan's strength. I don't want the second friend I make to fall in front of me one day like my tribe. Fang was Kushina's first friend many years ago, and Izumi was her first friend after many years, and she was a companion who came to the desert together. This is of great significance to Kushina. In that case, come on. Fang nodded, turned around and walked in another direction. Where are you going? Aren't you going back to the village? Kushina looked at the direction Fang was walking, and was a little confused, but she still took Quan's little hand and chased after her. Fang didn't answer, and took the two of them all the way to the bottom of the sun disk. The current sun disk, it was already peaceful below, with flowers, birds and plants living beside a stream. Wait, are you going to use this? Kushina was just about to sigh at the magnificence of the sun disk when she suddenly thought of what the cage said to them yesterday. Yi Kang mentioned on the day they first arrived that she was guided by Fang to obtain with his current strength, he became cage. And yesterday, when the two of them went to take the mission, Yi Kang told them about something that everyone in Sand Hidden Village knew, the Ascension ceremony. The reason for the original transformation. But Yi Kang told them that the Ascension ceremony requires many conditions. Once someone without qualifications sets foot on it, they will be burned to ashes by the strong sunlight. Even Yi Kang at that time was not 100% successful. During the Ascension ceremony, even the original cage felt this way. Now that he has just opened his sharingan, how can Izumi, who is not as powerful as a genin, be able to withstand it? I have an ability that can make things with low probability succeed 100%, but there is a cooling time of up to 1 year. Fang raised his head and glanced at the sun disk. In fact, Kushina is now qualified to perform the Ascension ceremony. But with the ability of Destined Draw, Fang is not ready to take risks in the Ascension ceremony. Either it's 100% successful, or don't go there. Still have this ability. Is it the limit of blood inheritance? Then let Quan become stronger. Kushina was surprised, and said immediately after coming back to her senses. Kushina is not too eager to pursue strength. Her current strength is all forced by the environment. Compared with the improvement of strength, she is more eager to. What she lacks is friendship and bond. So, Quan, what are your own thoughts? Fang's eyes turned to Izumi, who had lowered his head and said nothing. He knew that Izumi was heartbroken for Konoha, but he still missed the Uchiha clan. In fact, if he lived like this again, in a few years, it is very likely that the people who come to assassinate Izumi will not be Nara, Yamanaka, and Aburame. By then, Danzo's most powerful generals will be 2 ninjas from the Uchiha clan. I accept it. Quan went through some ideological struggle. She knew that once she accepted Fang's gift, she would have to cut off her relationship with the past. Even if she didn't cut it off completely, Fang must be put first between the two. 1. This was her bottom line, her own principle. Maybe Kushina was not very thirsty for strength, but if she was born into the Uchiha clan, strength was everything. If she has enough strength and shows enough talent, then she won't be sent here as a bargaining chip by the clan leader. Uchiha Izumi is not stupid. Originally, everyone was willing to sacrifice, but the next day only 4 of them were left. The clan leader must have persuaded those clan members with good talents. If I can become stronger, Quan looked at Qinfang with a pair of dark, moist eyes. She had an inexplicable idea in her mind. She wanted to prove her strength and make the Uchiha leader regret sending her away from the clan. Well, it's better to choose the day than to hit it. I don't like to wait, come on. Qinfang stretched out a hand to Quan. Quan glanced at the towering sun disk, put his hand in Qinfang's hand, and chose to believe him. Qinfang took Quan down to the center where Yi Kang once performed the Ascension ceremony. The crystallized land caused by Yi Kang's original burning chakra mode still remains on the ground. Relax, as long as it's better than 1%, you'll be successful. Qinfang looked at Quan nervously twisting the corner of his clothes and comforted him. But these words made Quan even more nervous. She was just a genin, and it would be impossible for a powerful junin to kill 100 genin like her. Question. Then, Feng Ying was not 100% successful. Could it be that? Quan was still thinking about it, but Qinfang had already put one hand on Quan's head, who was kneeling on the ground, and controlled it with the other. The sun disk began to rotate. Kushina watched this scene from a distance, and suddenly found a vague shadow of a giant hand, which was also placed on Quan's head. This is the power that controls all possibilities. Destined. Qinfang felt that his ability had been on a 1-year cooldown. With a wave of his right hand, the star energy of the sun's disk instantly spurted out, directly hitting the Uchiha spring in the center of the sundial. Qinfang jumped back and came to Kushina. Beside, how long does Quan need to hold on? Kushina felt the terrifying energy reaction in the distance and asked with some worry. Almost. Qinfang was just about to answer, but found that the beam of the sun's disk suddenly shrunk by half in an instant. Something went wrong with the Ascension ceremony. As soon as this idea came to his mind, Qinfang shook his head and rejected it. Destined to Draw has fallen into a 1-year cooldown, which shows that the success rate of Izumi Uchiha completing the Ascension ceremony is already 100%. So, it should be that the sun disk actively reduces the energy output in order to prevent Quan's body from being unable to bear it. However, due to the shrinkage, it may take a lot more time than usual. Qinfang explained, which made Kushina feel relieved. Kushina patted her unremarkable chest. That's good, I thought Izumi failed. But it turns out that just making the light beam smaller is enough. I thought something strange would happen. Kushina thought of the giant hand that just flashed by, and shook her head, feeling a little disappointed. Just a little smaller, that's all. Qinfang smiled helplessly, and could only say that the ignorant are fearless. Even if Qinfang could completely control the solar disk, he would not be able to control the energy output of the solar disk at will. Not to mention how to control the energy at the star level. Even if it can be reduced, then can the artificially shrunk energy still allow ordinary people to be reborn and become ascendants? Only with the blessing of the absolute destiny of Destined to Draw can we have both. Forget it, judging from the looks of it, it might take a whole day. Qinfang looked at the beam of light, which was not even a little thinner than Yi Kang, and shook his head. There were already sand ninjas around who started to watch, but most of them left after watching for a while. Everyone had their own needs. Busy with things, not so free. Wait a moment, aren't we supposed to guard the spring? What if something unexpected happens when she waits for it to end? Or what if other ninjas from the ninja village show up? Kushina anxiously grabbed Qinfang, who seemed to be leaving. You're right, it's just that I'm not ready to leave. Qinfang patted Kushina's little head, walked aside, and sat cross-legged on the ground. I'm trying to practice the sage mode here. You can wake me up at any time. After Qinfang said something to Kushina, he closed his eyes and began to sense the natural energy of the earth. Although the white snake sage said that Qinfang had blazed his own path, this magical technique was ultimately born out of Dragon. The Dedong Immortal technique also has some attributes of the Dragon Dedong Immortal technique. It is precisely because of this that Qinfang does not need to worry about being disturbed during practice. He does not need to have 6 roots to be pure, and he does not need to concentrate his will. He only needs to understand himself and do it. To unite knowledge and action. Well, Kushina watched Qinfang enter the practice like this, and sat next to him, holding her chin with one hand and looking at him. Correct. Qinfang suddenly opened his eyes, took out a scroll, and handed it to Kushina. I'm afraid you'll be bored, but there are some games here to relieve your boredom. Okay, thanks. Kushina looked at Qinfang blankly and took the scroll. She had just sensed that Qinfang had entered the practice, so how could it be interrupted suddenly? What's even more outrageous is that after the interruption, there was no delay and she returned to the state at the beginning. Not to mention practicing celestial arts, even reciting articles in the ninja school would not be affected at all, right? But soon, Kushina no longer had so many doubts, but all her attention was attracted by the game console Qinfang took out. She had no friends since she was a child, and her only leisure and entertainment was reading books. Other than that, she was sealing and acting with Konoha Ninja to the outside world. Interested in everything new. Wow, why did you lose again? Soon, Kushina, like Ikikishimaheim, mastered the use of the game console. Both of them were happy and cheerful in their hearts, but they also complained on their lips. In the same way, happy time always passes quickly. A whole day and night passed. With the physique of the Uzumaki clan, Kushina did not feel tired, and played all the games in the scroll. Although Qinfang sitting next to him was practicing, it did not prevent him from hearing the endless games. The electronic sounds and Kushina's soliloquy had no impact on his celestial practice, but instead relieved him from some boredom. It's finally done. Qinfang felt that the natural energy around him had become gentler and gentler, as if he could extract natural energy from the world at any time. I don't know how Quan's ascension ceremony is going. Qinfang, with his eyes closed, took a deep breath and prepared to enter the final state, which is to activate his own perfect immortal mode. At the same time, Quan, who had endured the erosion of the sun's disk day and night, finally collapsed from exhaustion. When she fell, the beam of the sun disk slowly shrank, and the huge disk rotated back to its original shape. Ascension ceremony, success. According to the true ascension mode effect of Qinfang self-template that combines the ruler, god warrior, and fallen person, when Qinfang performs an ascension ceremony for others in the posture of a ruler, he will obtain the same effect as an ascended person. The power of type. Back then, Yi Kang had brought him the boiling release blood succession limit that overwhelmed Tsunade. What will it be this time? A force representing the pupil technique poured into Qinfang's body at the moment when he was about to complete the immortal mode. At this moment, the sky that was originally noon suddenly turned dark. Before everyone fell into panic, Qinfang opened his eyes and the sky returned to its original state. Is there such a thing? Qinfang looked at Quan lying in the center of the sundial in the distance, having completed the ascension mode, and was a little surprised. Under his self-template, in addition to true ascension mode, there was another ability. Dark sky fluctuating eyes. Ability description. A product that combines the ascension eye technique and special fairy magic. It can control natural energy to form halo and light guns to attack. At the same time, every time you perform a successful ascension ceremony in the form of the ruler, you can obtain the same type of pupil technique as the ascendant. Ability limitations. Cannot be used and triggered simultaneously with true ascension mode. When used, light must be lost. Chapter 89. When Izumi fell, Kushina immediately put down the game console in her hand and ran over. Quan, are you okay? Kushina helped the unconscious Quan, her eyes full of worry. She regretted not learning some medical ninjutsu from her grandmother. By the way, I thought I saw Tsunade-sama here when I came here. Kushina suddenly thought of the day she was sent to Konoha. She saw Tsunade as soon as she got off the carriage. Those Konoha ninjas said that she had seen it wrong. Kushina herself thought so at the time. Until when Qinfang saw the ninja from Kumogakure with the same blonde hair, she knew she was right. I'm going to find Tsunade-sama. Kushina picked up Izumi and prepared to find Tsunade. Although Qinfang said that she could wake him up at any time, Kushina still didn't want to disturb his practice. No need to look for it, I'm already here. A hand pressed on Kushina's shoulder. Kushina was slightly startled, looked back, and was suddenly surprised. Tsunade-sama. Call me sister. Tsunade rubbed Kushina's hair lovingly. Tsunade was a little surprised to see her grandmother Uzumaki Mito's clan here. She had only seen the movement of the sun disk before, and was ready to see with her own eyes what others said. What is the so-called ascension ceremony? So on the other side, Tsunade and Shizune were playing with each other while waiting and observing. Tsunade-sama, look at Izumi quickly. Kushina changed the title without any hesitation, and then carefully placed Quan on the ground. After Tsunade put her hand on Kwan's forehead and felt it, she raised her head and said, "There's no problem, I'm just a little tired. I should be there soon. It's time to wake up." As soon as he finished speaking, Uchiha Izumi's eyelashes trembled and he slowly opened his eyes. "Kwan, are you okay?" Kushina asked with concern. "Do you feel anything?" Fang arrived at some point and asked at the same time. He was not in a hurry to check the specific strength of the new ability. He just came here after taking a look at the description. He really wanted to know how the 100% successful Ascension ceremony could balance Uchiha Izumi's weak strength and undeveloped body. Especially looking at Kwan's current situation, the Ascension mode does not seem to have brought much improvement in her physical fitness and chakra. It is most likely because her body is too young, and she changed it to improve her growth talents in related areas. Hiss. Uchiha Izumi heard Fang's voice and was about to answer when he suddenly covered his eyes. After taking a few breaths, Izumi slowly put down his hand. I seem to have gained 2 special abilities. Eye technique. Kwan felt the changes in himself and whispered. Eye surgery, not. Tsunade looked at Uchiha Izumi in surprise and then at Chifeng. The eye skills of the Uchiha clan reminded her of Uchiha Madara, who was as famous as her grandfather Senju Hashirama. Mangekyo Sharingan. This was the first thing that Tsunade thought of. However, it seems that my current chakra and eye power cannot be used several times. Kwan rubbed his dry eyes and looked up at Fang, a little afraid that he would let him down. What are the specific abilities? Fang smiled slightly, sat down on the ground and asked. He had already guessed the general situation. The energy of the Ascension ceremony gave Kwan the key to open the door, and at the same time increased his future growth, instead of directly improving like Yi Kang. This method is indeed the only one suitable for Uchiha Springs whose body and chakra strength are far insufficient. Ability. Izumi covered one eye and stood up with Kushina's help. Don't force it, Kwan. Kushina looked worriedly. She has no strength now because she has been sitting on her knees for a day and a night, not because of the burden of the sharingan. Tsunade saw the reason at a glance and shook her head at Kushina. In fact, you just have to say it. Fang looked at the crumbling Izumi and also tried to persuade him. After the Mangekyo Sharingan is opened, the eye technique is generally not directly obtained. For example, the original Itachi's Amaterasu was opened when Loquat Juzo was about to die. But once after obtaining the eye technique, the user will immediately know the name and specific effects of the eye technique. Since Kwan knows that she has 2 eye techniques, it means that she must already know the abilities and names of the 2 eye techniques. Okay, why bother dragging your tired body to demonstrate? But Uchiha Izumi stubbornly shook her head. She originally had no expectations for the future when she came to Sunagakur village, but Fang gave her dreams and hope for progress. Road. She must show her due value to Fang. Unexpectedly, within a few days, this child would be kidnapped by you. Tsunade looked at Fang with a complicated expression. Okay, Fang didn't care about Tsunade's opinion. Compared to him, Orochimaru's approach of kidnapping and then throwing away is the real scum. Forget it, I'll help her. Tsunade smoothed her hair, stood up, walked behind Kwan, and put a hand on her shoulder. Kwan, who was originally exhausted, suddenly froze, feeling that her physical strength and chakra were rapidly recovering. Let's start. I'm also curious if there will be another Madara in the Uchiha clan. In Tsunade's memory, the only person with the Mangekyo Sharingan was Madara Uchiha who fought with her grandfather. Kwan, who had recovered, nodded vigorously, and took out a shuriken from his waist pocket. Oh, Kwan used the special shuriken throwing technique of the Uchiha clan, and the 2 shurikens flew to both sides in a staggered manner, circled around, and were about to collide again. At this moment, the 2 shurikens suddenly became huge, and their speed suddenly became faster. Bang! The shurikens collided with each other and fell on the ground. What's this? The old man's shuriken jutsu. Tsunade looked at this scene and touched the back of his head with some confusion. Make shurikens bigger. Sarutobi Hiruzen's shuriken giant body technique can do it, and he can even use shurikens at the same time. The shadow clone technique. Is this the Mangekyo Sharingan eye technique that is as famous as Madara? Unlike Tsunade, Fang was carefully thinking about the situation just now, analyzing the possibility of Izumi seeing Fang's silence. Silently, thinking that he was a little disappointed, he hurriedly said, "Well, wait a minute, I will show you again." With that said, Izumi began to form seals with her hands. As Izumi said before, she is better at physical arts. However, she still learned the Uchiha clan's signature fire escape. Art Fire Escape Ho Fireball. A ball of fire as tall as a person was spit out from the mouth of the spring. When the fireball flew halfway, it suddenly grew several times larger and exploded in the sky like a small sun. So, the ability of your eye is to magnify ninjutsu and ninja tools. Fang looked at the huge fireball that exploded in the sky, and turned to Quan, who was covering her eyes. It can be seen that she really used her full strength this time. It is estimated that in her current situation, her left eye will not be able to be used again for the time being. Quan nodded, seemed to think of something, and shook his head. Shishin's effect is to magnify everything he sees. Is there any difference? Kushina raised her little hand and asked a question. Of course there are differences, for example, people. Tsunade touched her chin and looked at Izumi with interest. If you use it on people, will they be the same as the Akamichi clan's doubling technique? There should be no way to enlarge living creatures. Quan put down the hand covering her eyes and shook her head. Although she has not tried it, she feels that she should not be able to enlarge people or animals, as Tsunade said. It is a good ability to strengthen ninjutsu, assist teammates, and may have other unexpected effects. Fang touched his chin and analyzed. The ability of Emperor Shishin is to magnify objects. It seems very simple, but in fact it directly covers many things. For example, Uchiha Madara alone fought against the Ninja Coalition's powerful fire extermination. Quan only needs to release the ninjutsu and use Emperor Sharingan to enlarge the wall of fire to achieve the same effect. And according to what Izumi said, if everything you see can be magnified, then what about Susanoo? Susanoo, who is already a behemoth in her own right, is once again amplified by her ability. What will happen to her? It is very possible to reach the point where Susanoo chopped off the 10 tails like the Sage of Six Paths. It's just a pity that Izumi can't withstand it after just 2 uses. Susanoo requires strong eye power to open, so she will definitely not have the chance to try it for the time being. Fang even had some doubts as to whether Emperor Sharingan was the ability of the Mangekyo Sharingan, or whether it was the ability of the Samsara Eye like Rinne Tomb and Tenjuli. After all, when Izumi releases his pupil technique now, his eyes are still the single Magatama Sharingan, which is full of confusion. Moreover, pupil techniques are basically named after gods. The so-called Emperor Shakti, also known as Indra. As the reincarnation of Indra, no one knows about Uchiha Madara's Mangekyo Sharingan ability. They can only speculate that it is the power of the amplification technique. Perhaps this ability can be regarded as atavism, or the ultimate in Indra's bloodline. But no matter what, Quan cannot be the reincarnation of Indra, because the real reincarnation is still lingering underground. What about the right eye? If you are tired, there is no need to show it, just describe it. Fang looked at Uchiha Izumi, who tilted his little head as if he was distressed, and said, "Nah." Quan shook his head slightly and bit his lower lip. "I don't know how to show the ability of my right eye. The pupil power of Sharingan's left and right eyes are independent. After using Sharingan twice, Izumi only got tired of her left eye. Don't know how to show it." Fang rubbed his chin and thought for a moment. How about throwing a shuriken or a powerful fireball technique? The essence of human civilization is to boil water and throw stones. Similarly, the essence of special abilities is also inseparable from these 2 points. At most, one thing will be added, to prevent other people's stones from hitting you. Let me try. After Fang's reminder, Quan covered his left eye with one hand and took out the shuriken with the other hand. Oops! The shuriken turned into an arc and flew into the air. At the same time, Quan's right eye was fixed on the sky, flying shuriken. Stopped. Everyone saw a surprising scene. The shuriken that was spinning at high speed suddenly seemed to hit something and fell down. However, the shuriken fell halfway and seemed to fall on some transparent glass, quietly lying in the air. Is the ability to create invisible obstacles, or is it? Tsunade subconsciously looked at Fang, waiting for his guess. After all, he guessed basically right last time. Block the space. Fang spit out 4 words, then looked at Quan. My guess is right. With Emperor Shishan's ability in front of him, Fang did not hesitate to make exaggerated guesses about his ability. Aha! Seeing that Fang guessed it, Quan nodded happily. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly covered his right eye. The shuriken in the air fell down and landed on the ground. Tianwado, this is its name, but it seems to be of no use. After sealing a space, attacks from the outside cannot be effective inside. Izumi rubbed his eyes and returned to Fang, his tone a little low. Although Amamado can trap the enemy, he cannot attack the enemy inside. To attack, it must be released, but after being released, the enemy can evade. It looked a bit useless, and what made her even more uncomfortable was that she, Emperor Shishan, used it twice, but Tien Iwado only used it once, and she couldn't hold it anymore. Can't attack inside the blocked space. Fang raised his eyebrows and patted Quan's shoulder. Why don't you look at it from a different angle? Since you can't attack inside, wouldn't it be an absolute defense if you use it on yourself or your companions? There are many so-called absolute defenses, such as Susanoo, Shukaku's shield, and Thunder Chakra armor. But no matter how high the defenses of these things are, can they compare to space defense? If we talk about Kakashi's divine power in the original work, tariff space is equivalent to real damage in the game, then Izumi's Ama Iwado is real defense. Yes. Quan was slightly startled when he heard Fang's words. After thinking about it carefully, it seemed that this was what happened. Moreover, this ability can be regarded as the nemesis of time and space ninjutsu. The best way for Namikaze Minato, known as the Yellow Flash, to maintain his reputation is to sacrifice before you grow up. Fang encouraged Izumi again. He has discovered that this child seems to lack self-confidence because his father is not an Uchiha clan and was selected by Uchiha Fugaku as the worst batch of victims. Hearing Fang praise him so much, compared with the famous Konoha ninja, Izumi lowered his head in embarrassment. In fact, Fang's ability to block space was not only Namikaze Minato's nemesis, but also the one who was about to become the one behind the scenes. Boss, the nemesis of Namikaze Minato's disciples. In the original work, Namikaze Minato left the Flying Thunder God mark on the masked man's back, but he could not rely on the mark to directly enter the Kamui space to attack the masked man. The only way to get in and out of the area is through the 2 Kamui Mangekyo Sharingan. Otherwise, if you are sucked in by Kamui, you can leave with a reverse psychic technique. Similarly, once the masked man appears in the real world, he will be locked by Izumi's Ama Iwado. Then he will no longer be able to enter his divine power space and cannot be dematerialized. As for how to attack then, Fang was originally thinking about how to deal with the enemies blocked by the space, and suddenly thought of the stupidest method. Since the space is blocked, the air inside is not circulating. As long as the space is small enough, the people inside will be suffocated to death. PFF'd. Fang himself was amused by his own thoughts. It would be too extravagant to consume the kaleidoscope's pupil power and air. Quan looked at Fang and suddenly laughed, and Erzong was confused. Nothing, I was just wondering if you could use Tishikuden on items blocked by Ama Iwado. For example, block a shuriken and a person at the same time, and then continuously zoom in on the shuriken. Fang waved his hand and said an attack method. In the blocked space, the shuriken continues to expand. Tsunade imagined this scene and couldn't help but shuddered. Then even if he wasn't stabbed to death, he would still be squeezed alive. It made her a little bit hemophobic. I don't know. Quan shook her head weakly. Her eye power and chakra no longer support her experiment. It's okay, I'm just saying it, you don't have to rush to try it. With these 2 eye skills, you should have no problem protecting yourself. What you have to consider now is how to improve your shortcomings in other areas, do you understand? Fang touched Quan's head and said slowly. Now Uchiha Quan can only use the pupil technique of one eye alone once or twice, and still with the help of Tsunade. In normal times, it is estimated that in its heyday, it can only be used once for one eye, so instead of wasting a whole day's energy on testing the combination of these 2 abilities, it is better to improve the physical fitness and chakra first. Moreover, according to Uchiha, Quan still maintains the appearance of a single Magatama when using 2 pupil techniques. Fang can guess that she has now obtained a key in advance, just like playing a game and recharging a membership, which allows you to use the 5th level in advance. The skills she can learn are the same. She still needs to go through double Magatama, triple Magatama, and most importantly, open the Mangekyo Sharingan, in order to reach the strength after the Ascension ceremony under normal circumstances. Practice. Tsunade, who was still suffering from hemophobia due to the scene in her mind, suddenly brightened her eyes and hugged Fang. Hey. Are you interested in hiring a teacher with both beauty and strength for these 2 talented girls? Are you willing to teach Quan? Fang was slightly startled. If it makes sense that Tsunade is willing to teach Kushina, Izumi is a member of the Uchiha clan. Do you think of me as a village die-hard? Tsunade put her hands on her hips and hummed, compared to the second grandfather, I think I am more like the eldest grandfather. What's wrong with the Uchiha clan? Or are you saying that you don't look down on my strength? Tsunade suddenly remembered that Fang had once suppressed her with strength, and suddenly her eyes narrowed, revealing a dangerous look. It's a good thing that they can follow you. Fang shook his head. Needless to say, Kushina also learned the Yin seal from Uzumaki Mito, and Uzumaki and Senju have similar physiques. Tsunade can completely treat Kushina as another young self to teach. And Izumi's current shortcoming is all the basics, from physical fitness, chakra, to combat experience, and ninjutsu. Tsunade cannot give tips on Sharingan, but in terms of basics, she is definitely competent. As for looking down on you, that's not the case at all. Your strength and style are unforgettable to me. Fang turned his head slightly and stared into Tsunade's eyes seriously. If you are sensible, remember to give me a price that suits my status. Tsunade was a little embarrassed by Fang's eyes. She curled her lips, let go of Fang, and turned to look at Kushina and Izumi. Let's go, you will stay at my place from now on. 2 girls, don't live with this guy anymore. Okay, yes, Tsunade-sama. Kushina and Izumi waved to Fang and followed Tsunade away. Fang didn't care that the 2 were once again bound to Konoha. After all, with Fang's goals, the so-called concept of family and country has no place at all. Meaning, those who stand in his way are enemies, and those who join him are friends. That's okay with Hiruzen Sarutobi's Konoha. As for why Fang suddenly said that to Tsunade, this made the heroine of the ninja world change the topic with some embarrassment. After all, he was once a big boss. Fang saw Tsunade again and couldn't help but think of a game he had played in his previous life. In that game, Tsunade was a boss. Even if Fang turned on the cheating function of maxing out all attributes, he lost countless times. In the end, Fang just tried it. If you want to defeat Tsunade, you must first defeat Sakura. After defeating Sakura, you can defeat Shizune. Only after defeating them can you gain the ability to poison, and you can't rely on it directly when facing Tsunade. To win with brute force, Tsunade must be poisoned and lose blood every round, and at the same time, the protagonist uses the ability of mind control to make Tsunade unable to move. Only in this way can Tsunade be consumed to death. There is also a second bloodline. At that time, Tsunade will activate the 100 Heroes technique, which restores blood volume and chakra every round. It is more difficult to fight. You must bet that the protagonist, mind control, can control more than 2 rounds, so that you can survive the poisoning. There are also normal attacks mixed in during this period, so sometimes it's really hard to deal with even though others are just model workers. It's time to test my abilities. Watching the 3 people walking away, Fang walked a little further and came to an empty desert. He took out a black ribbon from his waist and covered his eyes. The condition for opening the dark sky's wave eyes is the loss of light, but this does not mean that Fang needs to blind his eyes, he just needs to be invisible. Buzz. The entire sky fell into darkness, and pairs of scarlet eyes were suspended in the sky. Among these pairs of scarlet eyes, 3 eyes have special patterns. The first one, Fang threw Izumi's shuriken that he had just picked up. Under the first eye technique, the shuriken shrank rapidly. When it fell to the ground, it was only as big as a button. It can shrink the objects it sees and can shrink itself hundreds of times. It cannot shrink any living creature except itself. Eye technique, Xiaoming Vagana. For the second time, Fang turned to a boulder. Under the second pupil technique, the boulder shrank rapidly and disappeared. After waiting for a period of time, Fang used it again, and a small stone fell from the sky. It suddenly became larger as it fell. It was the huge stone that had just disappeared. Objects can be shrunk and placed in a different space, and released during combat to restore their size. Eye technique, Mahakala. It seems that I can be 100% sure that it was Otsutsuki Ashiki who left the wedge for me in the first place. Fang felt these two special pupil skills and once again determined the source of the wedge. Before, there was a 10% chance that it was other circumstances, but now it can be said that the conclusion has been sealed. The young man Vagana and the big man Kuroshin was the original Otsutsuki Ashiki's pupil ability. On the other side, Tsunade brought Kushina and Izumi to the house she rented. I don't know if Fang has successfully cultivated his immortal mode. Kushina looked in the distance and muttered, "Immortal mode." Tsunade heard it with sharp ears. She walked up to Kushina and asked puzzledly, "Is he practicing sage mode?" "Yes, Tsunade's sister, don't you know?" Kushina looked at Tsunade in confusion, and then told her about Orochimaru. "How dare you be disturbed by others when you are practicing sage mode?" Tsunade secretly cursed Fang, feeling that something might happen to him now. "Shizune, cook a meal for them both while I go out." Tsunade picked up the cloak she had just taken off from the chair and rushed out in an instant. Tsunade returned to where she was just now and found that Fang was gone. It should be this direction. Looking at a few footprints on the ground, Tsunade ran in the direction. After leaving the oasis and coming to the desert, the footprints had disappeared, but Tsunade did not stop. "It's strange, why does it feel like the distance is getting farther?" Tsunade looked at the oasis behind her, with doubts in her eyes. Has the oasis where Sunagakur village is located gotten bigger? As for the expansion of the oasis after Uchiha Izumi performed the Ascension ceremony, Tsunade did not think much and found Fang has completed the test of his ability at this time, and also discovered another derivative ability of Anshin Wave Eye. Fang can transform Anshin Wave Eye into Heart Eye. In this case, even if Fang opens his eyes, the sky did not turn into darkness, and he could also use the eye skills through the mind's eye. Of course, in the mind's eye state, the power limit of the eye skills would be greatly weakened. This state is more suitable for sneaking or adapting to changes. Now, Fang is testing the difference between the state of mind and eyes before. Tsunade, what is she doing here? Sensing someone approaching, Fang looked back and found Tsunade rushing towards him, a little confused. Didn't she leave with Kushina and Izumi? Are you okay? As soon as Tsunade arrived, she immediately stepped forward, grabbed one of Fang's hands, and began to check his physical condition. What's wrong? Fang was confused. You are practicing the immortal mode of Longdi Cave, right? Don't you know you can't let your mind wander when practicing? You still dare to let Kushina wake you up at any time. Are you really not afraid of being backlashed by natural energy? It's okay that Fang didn't say anything. As soon as he spoke, Tsunade couldn't help it immediately, and a series of accusations came out. Unlike Jiraiya who believed in the son of prophecy, Tsunade believed in what she saw. Since coming into contact with Fang, and after living in Sunagakur village, she had a feeling that Fang had the same sense as her great-grandfather Senju Hashirama, and his eyes were not limited to the ninja village. If such a person died in this kind of thing. Yes, that would be too ironic. What's more, the two of them are now friends. Tsunade doesn't want to see anyone she knows fall in front of her. Well, actually, the immortal arts I practice are a little different from those in Longdi Cave. Fang looked at Tsunade's unusually irritable look and scratched his head, feeling that the atmosphere was a little strange. No, the same. Wait, you have completed your cultivation. Tsunade suddenly thought that if Fang is still practicing, he should not be standing here awake, but should be sitting on the ground. Fang raised the corner of his mouth slightly, waved his hand in the air, and a fiery red rose greeted Tsunade. Because the beautiful lady cares so much, I give it to you as a thank you. Tsunade stared at Fang's hand, took the rose, and raised her head with a slight frown. Is this an ordinary trick or an illusion? She didn't understand at all how this flower suddenly appeared when Fang had nothing in his hand just now. And Tsunade brought the rose closer and smelled it. The flower seemed to have just been picked. There is still life on it. Is it possible to get just one flower like this? Tsunade raised her eyebrows, put her hands on her hips, and said, Fine. Qinfeng shrugged slightly and squatted down slowly. Tsunade stared at Qinfeng's movements. She wanted to see again this time how Qinfeng made flowers. After Qinfeng squatted down, put her hands on the ground, and then, with Tsunade's confused expression, a bouquet of flowers had already arrived in front of her. This would escape. Tsunade did not take the flower, but looked at Qinfeng with astonishment in her eyes. She watched Qinfeng press her hand to the ground, and then such a bouquet of flowers grew on the sand. This was not her uncle's tree. Escape, what else could it be? But how did Qinfeng learn the wood escape? Could it be that? Tsunade thought of the future wood escape ninja Yamato who appeared in the Dragon Vein incident. Could it be that Qinfeng knew the existence of Yamato? The method allowed him to obtain wood escape. You transplanted my great-grandfather's cells. Tsunade looked at Qinfeng in shock. For some reason, she felt a little uncomfortable. Senju Hashirama's cells. That is indeed a good thing, but I don't have a man's fetish in mind. With that said, Qinfeng began to unbutton his clothes. What, do you want me to take it off for you to check and see if I have a transplant? Stop. Tsunade hurriedly pressed Qinfeng's hand, a little embarrassed. Seeing that Qinfeng didn't have any panic expression, Tsunade knew that she had guessed wrong. But how do you make flowers grow on the ground out of thin air? Tsunade let go of Qinfeng's hand and asked. Well, you can understand it as my magical ability. Qinfeng bent down and grabbed a handful of sand, put it in the palm of his hand and showed it to Tsunade. Besides, it's not like flowers were created out of thin air. Under Tsunade's gaze, the ordinary gravel in Qinfeng's hand stretched out the roots, branches, flowers and leaves of a flower in a few seconds. Rather than saying it is like wood release, it is better to say that it is an enhanced version of inorganic reincarnation. Qinfeng pulled out the flower by the roots and put it in Tsunade's hand. Inorganic reincarnation. Oh, it's Yongjadong's magic, a magic that can give vitality to inorganic objects and control them. Mine is almost the same, but it can create creatures. Qinfeng remembered that the current inheritor of Ryuji Cave Immortal technique is probably still working as a tool for Danzo, so he explained it to Tsunade. The ability of Ntianbo's third eye comes from the fusion of Qinfeng in terms of specific abilities. The magic of Fang cultivation is somewhat similar to the inorganic reincarnation of Longdi Cave. The difference is that inorganic reincarnation can give life to inorganic objects, but Qinfeng's ability is not to give life to inorganic objects. It is to give vitality to non-living things, and after giving it vitality, he can change its life form. For example, the flower in Tsunade's arms was formed by Qinfeng grabbing a handful of sand and using his ability. And the created creature changes back to its original form after death. Qinfeng grabbed a handful of sand. After spreading his hands, the sand turned into a butterfly and flew out. After flying for less than a second, Qinfeng threw out the button shuriken that he had shrunk before and penetrated the butterfly. Death. The butterfly turned into gravel in the air and fell to the ground. Sure enough, it's not done. However, your ability is more terrifying than Mudden. This is life ninjutsu. Tsunade couldn't help but feel excited as she looked at the disappearing butterflies. Wooden can only create plants, but Qinfeng can even create animals, which is completely within the scope of life ninjutsu. This is the most thirsty knowledge for a medical ninja. Have you named this magic? Tsunade came back to her senses and looked at Qinfeng. Call it a golden experience. Qinfeng chuckled and patted Tsunade. Okay, I'm going back, and I'll rush to help you in Konoha tomorrow. He knew what Tsunade was thinking. Unfortunately, the golden experience is not simply a senjutsu, but a product that combines pupil techniques and senjutsu. It cannot be copied. But if Tsunade really wants to explore life ninjutsu, in fact, it's not difficult either. She just needs to be an ascendant. Thank you. Tsunade looked at Qinfeng's back and whispered. She knew very well that Qinfeng and Konoha had made a deal. But from Qinfeng's perspective, his advantage was enough for him to propose more requests. But he only made 3 conditions that were insignificant to Konoha. Now that the third ninja war is happening outside, Tsunade doesn't want to go back, but she feels guilty. Now Qinfeng goes to support her, so she can be here. Peace of mind to teach the child. Even if Tsunade knew that Qinfeng's so-called support would probably only come once or twice, it would be enough. Ascension ceremony. Tsunade strolled back to the village and stopped when she passed the sun disk. In fact, she just discovered some special phenomena when she was checking Quan's cell activity and the vitality contained in her were slowly increasing. This means that the lifespan of ordinary people is constantly decreasing, but after performing the Ascension ceremony, the lifespan will gradually increase, and the appearance and physique will automatically stop changing when they reach the peak of the normal human body. It must be said that this is very important for the use of yin. The seal keeps Tsunade young, but she is very attractive. I still have my ties, let's talk about it later. Tsunade looked away, no longer thought about it, turned around and left. However, if Orochimaru knew this effect, he would probably die of joy. While walking, Tsunade suddenly thought of her companion who was also called the Sannin. Now Orochimaru has not completely changed, but his desire for so-called immortality is no longer a secret. Tsunade returned to the rented house and began make a training plan for Kushina and Izumi. On the other side, Qinfeng also returned home. Help me prepare some rations, I'm going to go out. Qinfeng didn't treat Sammy as an outsider at all. He kicked off his shoes and walked into the door while giving instructions. Go out, or you going to the battlefield? Walking out of the kitchen, Sammy, who was wearing an apron, was slightly stunned when he heard the words, and then immediately realized it. Usually Qinfeng never made such a request when going out, which means that the place he went to this time must be far away, and he could not reach it in a short time. Return. Yes, by the way, you can also talk to your new rakeage. You prisoners have lived here long enough. Qinfeng took a can of drink, drank it in one gulp, threw the can into the trash can, and sat down at the table. Are you ready to let us go? Samui was surprised and happy. What Qinfeng said means that he must go to the front lines of Konoha and Cloud Hidden Village. So, can the new rakeage survive against Qinfeng who once killed the third generation of rakeage? Then, Sammy thought that Qinfeng's strength would drop a lot if he left the Kingdom of Wind and was not fighting at home. Moreover, after getting along with him these days, she also found that Qinfeng did not have much intention to kill. The death of Cage was more because he wanted to take advantage of the disappearance of the third Cage to launch an attack on the Kingdom of Wind. Don't be too happy, it's not free. Qinfeng shook his finger. Think about what Konoha and the others paid this time to form an alliance. I wonder how much you fellow village ninjas are worth in the heart of the new rakeage. Sammy's expression froze when he heard this, and then he said, we prisoners cannot be used as bargaining chips. You can't get anything. That's not certain, let's wait and see. Qinfeng shrugged. The value he thought was very different from the value thought by Kumogakure and Konoha. Land ceding compensation and various treaties were meaningless in the eyes of Qinfeng. The first Cage gave up the tailed beast for money and supplies. Qualifications for distribution. Qinfeng is just the opposite. It is better to teach people to fish than to acquire supplies from other places. There is no need to use war to develop the country. If Qinfeng were to choose, he would definitely choose to ask Senju Hashirama for 2 tailed beasts. In addition to the one he already has, there are only 3 tailed beasts. Isn't it more practical than supplies? Just like this deal with Konoha, Konoha's senior officials instinctively thought that Sunagakure village would make the same demands to them, but they didn't expect that Qinfeng only wanted 2 people to exchange for these prisoners. Qinfeng had already thought about it. Based on his understanding of the fourth rakeage's character, the probability of agreeing was at least 90%. Boom. Just as Qinfeng was finishing his meal and preparing to return to his room, the door opened outside. There were 2 knocks. The person who knocked on the door seemed to be hesitant. There were a few seconds between the 2 knocks. Qinfeng walked to the door and opened it. A red-haired man raised his hand with a troubled expression, preparing to knock again. Once. What's wrong? Something's wrong with the tailed beast. Seeing that it was Luo Sha who knocked on the door, Qinfeng's first reaction was, did Fenfu hang up in advance? No, Luo Sha quickly denied it, but when it was his turn to speak, he hesitated. If you have something to say, please tell me quickly. If you really can't, go to Feng Ying. I will leave the village tomorrow and I need to rest early today. Qinfeng frowned slightly. He was not interested in watching a grown man act here. Leaving the village. Hearing that Fang was leaving and knowing about the alliance treaty between Sunagakur and Konoha, Rasa suddenly became anxious. It would be embarrassing and difficult to resolve this matter for him if he approached K's cage. Rasa gritted his teeth and spoke. I am actually short of money. Short of money? Where is your placer gold? Fang looked shocked. That is the property of the village, how can I use it at will? Luo Sha said with a righteous expression. Oh, I see. Fang touched his chin and thought about it. It seemed like this. In his development plan, desert metallurgy was publicly owned. Luosha can be used, but cannot be sold. Of course, he can choose to sell what he extracted previously. But the problem is, this is a ninja world, not a commercial city. For the sake of money, Luo Sha was not stupid to let half of his special ninjutsu become useless. What's more, his duty is to guard Shukaku. If he is not strong enough, he may die one day. Speaking of which, in the original plot, this guy was solved so easily. Could it be that part of the placer gold was sold? Fang glanced at Luo Sha, who was lowering his head to plead, and suddenly came up with this conjecture. The more he thought about it, the more likely it became, especially at that time, this guy was just preparing to cooperate with Orochimaru because he was too poor to expose the pot. But, by the way, the village's funds have increased a lot now. As an important tailed beast caretaker, I shouldn't treat you badly, right? Fang looked at Luo Sha with suspicion. Now there are more tasks in the village, and the pay is getting better and better. Luo Sha occupies such an important position, the pay will be low. Could it be that this guy has nothing to do? Have you learned to gamble? The village did not treat me badly, but... Luo Sha sighed and waved behind her. A young woman with blonde hair came over holding a little girl with the same blonde hair and a baby in her arms. The situation of sharing blessings has been getting worse and worse recently. I have to guard Shukaku all the time. I have no way to go on missions and earn rewards. Garura gave birth to a second child for me, and she was very weak. Her younger brother Yashimaru resigned from his Anbu position and took care of her and the child every day. Now we are a family of 5, and we all rely on what I fixed every month. It's really not enough. Is this the flower of Sunagakur village in the future? Fang looked down at little Tamari, who was just about 1 year old now. Little Tamari noticed that Fang was looking at him, and looked back without fear, as if she already had the attitude of a big sister in the future. Well, let me make you a proposal. Fang withdrew his gaze and looked at Luo Sha. It's okay for this guy to starve to death. It would be a sin if Tamari was stunted because of lack of money. Lord Fang, please speak. When Luo Sha saw Fang let go, his eyes suddenly lit up. He thought about asking his wife and children to come out and pretend to be pitiful, and it worked. He didn't come here to borrow money in the first place, but wanted to ask Fang for a way to make money. Even the poor country of Wind can develop in an orderly manner. Isn't it easy to help him? Open a convenience store. Ah, Luo Sha's expression froze. You probably didn't come to me until you were at the end of your rope, right? Spend some money and open a convenience store, this is my proposal to you. Fang folded his hands in front of him and said. This, Master Fang, I have no experience at all. It's not that Luo Sha looks down on the profits from opening a store, but he is a pure ninja and doesn't know anything about this. He still has a little money left, enough to support a small store in their normal life for a few months. How about I give you a business plan and ask for 30% of the profit? Fang took out a scroll from somewhere and buckled it on the door rail. No problem at all. Luo Sha agreed without saying a word and reached out to take the scroll. The scroll was prepared in advance. What does this mean? It means that this is probably originally a plan for the village. It means making a lot of money. Don't say 100% he's 30, even if you only give him 10%, he will definitely agree immediately. I don't know how much money you have left, if not you can find a partner. Fang looked at Luo Sha's happy face and reminded him. Indeed, his plan scrolls can make a lot of money. But at the same time, it also requires a lot of capital. At least now in Sand Hidden Village at least 10 small shops can rival the one in Fang's plan. Got it, thank you Lord Fang. Luo Sha bowed and put the scroll away. Okay, then you should go back quickly. It's getting late. Don't let your children catch the cold. Fang took a step forward, rubbed Temuri's hair, and said to Luo Sha. Yes. Luo Sha nodded and left with his family. He may not have realized at all that Fang was not doing it to give him face, but because of his 3 children. Maybe, just because of one. Bang. Fang closed the room. He opened the door, yawned, walked back to the living room, poured a glass of water, and prepared to go back to the room to sleep. The next morning, Fang got up early and enjoyed the breakfast made by Sammy. Why is it you again? Fang packed up his things, opened the door, and prepared to go to the Konoha front line. But when he opened the door, he saw Ross's stinky face again. And this guy didn't bring little Tamari with him this time, so I wanted to give him more face. Lord Fang, I'm here to ask for money. Luo Sha touched his head in embarrassment. Because he didn't know when Fang would leave, Luo Sha rushed to the door before dawn and has been waiting for more than an hour. Want money? Fang was stunned. Is this guy going too far? He just gave him a money-making idea yesterday, and now he's directly asking for money. Luo Sha suddenly felt a murderous aura and noticed that Fang's face was wrong, so he hurriedly explained, No, it's the slug princess of the Konoha Sannin who asked me to ask you for her reward. Tsunade, why did she let you come? Fang restrained his momentum and was a little confused. Well, Mr. Fang, your plan is indeed very good, but it requires too much principle. So I posted a task, looking for cooperation. Unexpectedly, the slug princess came to the door immediately and said that she wanted to mess with her. Then I asked her for money, and she said that you still owed her a reward and asked you to pay it in advance. Is that true? Luo Sha explained with some embarrassment, and finally asked cautiously. He didn't know what happened between Fang and the Konoha slug princess, but he always felt something strange. That's right, okay, how much is the difference? Fang didn't expect that Tsunade would have such an idea, and was a little surprised. But if Tsunade is willing to get involved, it would be better. The chain convenience store business will not be a problem when it comes to Konoha. Still short of about 2 million taels. Give. Fang threw a scroll, patted Rasa on the shoulder, and left directly. At the gate of Sunagakur village, Fang saw Tsunade standing there, and Shizune following behind her. Take it. Tsunade threw out a scroll. Fang raised his hand to catch it and took a look. This is it. Some information about Kurigakure village will be of benefit to you. Tsunade turned her head away with a casual attitude. Sand Hidden Village knows the least about Kurigakure village among the 5 great ninja villages, because there is a huge fire country between them. Fighting with Kurigakure village the most, that is, Kumogakure and Konoha. I accept your intention, but... Fang put away the scroll, then looked at Tsunade and asked his doubts, when did you become interested in opening a convenience store? And for this, I paid in advance for teaching Kushina and Izumi. 2 million taels, that's the entire bounty of at least 2 high-reward A-level missions, or an S-level mission with a higher bounty. This does not include teammates and leading Jonin, they still need to share part of the bounty. Of course, there is no doubt that for Tsunade, 2 million taels is nothing, after all, the strength is there. It is estimated that if you lose in the casino for a day or two, the reward for an S-level mission will be gone. It's not me, it's all Shizune's fault. I was originally going to take your reward and go to the casino to make a lot of money. When Fang mentioned this, Tsunade suddenly felt resentful and looked at the disciple Shizune next to her with resentment. Tsunade-sama, wouldn't it be nice for us to have a stable income? Shizune sighed helplessly. She even went to the casino to make a lot of money in one go. I'm afraid it's better to lose it all in one go. Shizune has been with Tsunade for a short time and has completely understood her as a master. When she was outside, did she want to? After being hungry and satisfied, she had no choice but to secretly hide part of Tsunade's gambling money against Tsunade's wishes. Fortunately at first, Tsunade didn't realize that they could still have a guarantee after Tsunade lost all her money. The money can be used for food, clothing, housing and transportation. Later, Tsunade became smart and knew that Shizune had hidden the money. After losing all, she took the guaranteed money from Shizune and lost it. This was also a psychological shadow caused by Tsunade. After Shizune learned that there was a stable income cooperation, she immediately approached him. After that, what Luo Sha said happened. Since you want it so much, Shizune, then you will be the store manager, which can save a lot of money. Tsunade put her hands on Shizune's shoulders, with a sly smile on her lips. Ziyan was stunned for a moment, feeling like she had fallen into a trap. Well, Shizune-san, come on. I'm leaving now. Goodbye. Qinfeng glanced at the betrayed Shizune with pity and said goodbye to the two of them. After watching Qinfeng leave, Tsunade looked at a house under construction in the village and put her hand on Shizune's shoulder. Sunagakur village, your work efficiency is pretty good. It's so fast. It seems that you will become the head of the store soon, Shizune. Shizune wanted to cry but had no tears. At the door of the house in the distance, the signboard was slowly hoisted. The Luo of Luo Sha, the Sen of the Senju of the forest. Lawson Convenience Store. Fire Nation, Southeastern Front. The Uchiha clan and the Hyuga clan are fighting fiercely with the Kurigakure village ninjas. Because the battle line was too long and the command between the two tribes often contradicted each other, the battlefield was in chaos. In the Uchiha camp, Uchiha Fugaku, who immediately came to the front line after returning from Sand Hidden Village, was counting the casualties. Shisui, you should be responsible for leading the support team to meet friendly forces. Just leave the frontal attack to us. Uchiha Fugaku saw a child who was bandaging his wound, and walked up and said. At the same time, Uchiha Fugaku was also a little dissatisfied with the actions of the village's senior officials. Shisui had just shown his talent, and he killed him without mercy. He was sent to the front line and even gave him the title of team leader. Fortunately, he came back from Sand Hidden Village in time, otherwise the situation here would definitely be more chaotic. However, Mr. Patriarch, I am good at illusions, so I should be more suitable for assassination. This is a battlefield. Uchiha Fugaku interrupted Shisui and glared at a junior who disobeyed him. Remember, a dead genius is a fool. Uchiha Shisui was a little distracted when he heard Uchiha Fugaku's words, and finally he could only nod in agreement. His age and strength are indeed not enough to run rampant on the battlefield. Patriarch, Fugaku, come here quickly. It's the medical class. Suddenly, there was a loud noise, and Uchiha Fugaku's heart tightened. He felt that something bad had happened, and rushed towards the crowd. In the middle of the crowd, a black-haired man covered in blood, quietly he was lying on the ground, still holding a kunai. His neck had been cut open by the enemy, and the blood was already dry. This is. Uchiha Fugaku saw his best friend lying on the ground, and his expression fell into a daze for a moment. Fugaku, mourning and obedience, Shao died bravely in battle, he is a hero of the clan. An old Uchiha came over and patted Uchiha Fugaku on the shoulder with a heavy tone. Uchiha Shao, Uchiha Fugaku's best friend of the same age, grew up together, not as blood brothers but as real brothers. Now, they are cold. He fell motionless in front of him. His death was even more tragic. You can imagine how much pain Uchiha endured before he died. Reminded Uchiha Fugaku of the cruelty of reality. He's dead. Shaojan died. Shaojan died. Ah! Uchiha Fugaku covered his eyes and fell to his knees. Seeing this, everyone hurriedly stepped forward to help him. Patriarch, don't be too sad. There is no resurrection after death. Everyone thought that Uchiha Fugaku was too sad, but they did not notice that his eyes were changing rapidly. The leader of the Uchiha clan died, a close friend, and the Hyuga clan was not much better. In the Hyuga clan camp, a Hyuga boy he ran to Hinata Hazashi and whispered a few words in his ear. What? Take me there quickly. Hyuga Hazashi's expression changed, and he hurriedly ran out with the Hyuga boy. Soon, they saw a tribesman lying on the ground. The tribesman had lost the breath of life. But this is not the key. The key is that this tribesman, it belongs to the Hyuga clan. At the same time, one eye is missing from the body. Kurigakure. When we arrived, Bochi's left eye had already been gouged out. A member of the Hyuga clan was so angry that he punched a tree trunk nearby. There were also screams and anger. Unfortunately, the evolution of the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan has nothing to do with emotions. After a moment of incompetent rage, they can only calm down. When they came down, they continued to discuss the attack plan. Hinata and Uchiha had too much to worry about, and the other ninjas who belonged to them didn't know which side to follow, so they could only make their own decisions. Forget it, it's really troublesome, I can only ask the third generation for instructions. A ninja from the Nara clan side took out a scroll and wrote down what happened on the front line. You, yes, just you. The Nara ninja looked at a few young brats and called them over. Are you all genin, right, or have you just been promoted to chunin? No matter what, it's too dangerous to be on the front line, go and send this information back. After that, the Nara ninja put the scroll in the hands of one of them. Escorting intelligence, this is considered an A-level mission, right? One of the boys was about to retort when he was stopped by another boy holding 1,000 books in his mouth. A-level mission, then we will take it. The boy with thick eyebrows immediately became excited when he heard it was A-level. Then let's take a rest first. The boy wearing sunglasses next to him pushed up his glasses slightly obscenely and made a suggestion. 10 minutes later, the three of them stepped into the classic terrain of the fire country, the dense forest. It was so quiet, and there were no people from Kurigakure village on the road. Ebisu looked around cautiously and whispered, "Ah, probably all the combat power has been transferred to the front lines of Uchiha and Hinata." Shiranui Genma walked lazily. That's right. Ebisu nodded and looked at another teammate who was jumping up and down. Kai, why are you in such a good mood? This is a battlefield. Of course, everyone is working hard to win, so I have to work harder too. This is the passion of youth. All my accumulation will not be in vain, sooner or later I will surpass Kakashi. As long as I don't stop, the path of youth will continue to extend. Kai was making his youthful remarks with high spirits when he suddenly felt a chill and stopped suddenly. Oh, it's three little devils. A ninja holding a big sword jumped down from the tree and looked at the three of them with narrowed eyes. Oops, it's the enemy. Ready to fight. Shiranui Genma's expression condensed and he shouted to his two teammates. Wait, the opponent is holding the beheading sword from Kurigakure village. He is one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Shiranui Genma, who had just issued the battle plan, suddenly discovered this fact that made him despair. 7 people with ninja swords, how could they be able to resist it? The opponent was a Junin who was already famous, and he was in Kurigakure village. Second only to Mizukage's existence. Oh, it seems that even the imps in Konoha know about our reputation. Loquat Juzang put the beheading sword across his shoulder and glanced behind him. Then you should know that there are 7 people as powerful as me. Boom. 6 figures appeared in all directions instantly, blocking all the paths of the 3-person team. It's over. Just when the 3 of them were desperate, a green light broke through the woods and fell in front of them. At the same time, Fang, who had just arrived at the front line, happened to see this green light. 8 gates Dunjia. Okay, stop talking, run away, all delay. Maidadai looked at the enemy in the distance with a solemn expression and clenched his fists. Let's run away. Wait, Dad. The opponents are all Junin, and they are among the 7 ninja swordsmen. Dad, you are just a genin, there is no way you can defeat them. Maidkai said anxiously when he saw his father, Maidadai, who suddenly appeared to support them. I have the Death Gate 8 doors Dunjia formation. Matthew said this very calmly. He had no regrets about when his life should end. Self-discipline, now. Maidadai turned to his son and gave a thumbs up with a smile. Let's go, you are the new green leaves, and you will continue to spread my youth. With tears in his eyes, Kai gritted his teeth and nodded. He had been taught the 8 gates Dunjia by his father, and he also knew the consequences of opening the door of death. But it was precisely because they were similar between father and son that he would not dissuade his father. Genma, Ebisu, let's go quickly. Stop them. Loquat Juzang saw the 3 brats trying to run away and took the lead in chasing them. The other ninja swordsmen followed closely behind. As for the older man who was still a genin and whose chakra was weak, they didn't take it seriously at all. Their primary purpose is to obtain information while preventing Konoha from knowing that they have retreated. So we absolutely cannot let these 3 brats go. You don't need to leave. Suddenly, a figure fell on the tree in front of the 3-person team, blocking their way. The 7 ninja swordsmen who were chasing, Matt Dai, and the 3-person team were all stunned. Enemy, or a companion. A few people subconsciously looked at Fang's forehead protector, and then discovered that Fang did not wear a forehead protector. Didn't he wear a forehead protector on the battlefield? Aren't you afraid of being accidentally killed? But for the 7 ninja swordsmen, the other party's help, they intercepted the 3-man team, which was a big help. At least they could give him some satisfaction when they killed him. They looked at each other and made a decision in their hearts. Don't worry, I'm here to support you. Fang looked at the vigilant 3-man team in front of him and jumped down from the tree. Support, that's great, my lord, please go and save Kai's father. Ebisu was overjoyed when he heard this and hurriedly begged. But Kai, as his son, said nothing and did not plead to Fang. Because he understood that there was no way back for the 8-gate Dunjia. Moreover, the other party was the 7 ninja swordsmen. The crowd is simply not something that a single ninja can fight against. There is no way to save him. Once the 8-gate armor formation is activated, he is destined to die. Fang looked at Mad Dai, whose body was burning with red steam in front of him, and shook his head. I stopped you because I wanted you to witness with your own eyes how this red beast defeated the so-called 7 ninja swordsmen. What, are you here to be funny? A mere genin can't even touch my hair. It seems like you want to become Samahata's food, you arrogant boy. When the 7 people heard Fang's words, they heard voices of dissatisfaction one after another. Thank you for your compliment, brother. Maidadai turned around and gave Fang a thumbs up. My sacrifice is not for the world to remember, take them away. Next, I have no time. Maidadai only has the strength of a genin. Even if he persists in training for 20 years, his physical strength is not enough to sustain him for too long. After saying the last words to Fang, he must concentrate on stopping the 7 ninja swordsmen. As the strongest group in Kurigakure, who is good at group combat and whose individual strength is extraordinary, of course, this is what he just heard from his son. As a genin, he doesn't dare to let go. He knew nothing about the 7 ninja swordsmen. He only knew that the enemy before him was trying to kill his son. Drink. The red steam on Mad Dai's body suddenly surged, and a huge amount of chakra surged out. How can it be? What happened to this guy? No matter how stupid the 7 ninja swordsmen were at this time, they also discovered the abnormality of Mad Dai. Is this the legendary 8-gate dungeon that once opened can gain power beyond the Hokage? Ebisu and Shiranui Genma were stunned at this time. They couldn't imagine that their teammate's genin father could actually burst out with such terrifying power. Yes, this is the power beyond Naruto. Fang looked at this scene and nodded. The genin's Mat Kai used the 8-door armor and gained a power that surpassed the 3rd generation of Hokage. The Jonin's Metkai used the 8-door armor and gained a power that surpassed the 1st generation of Hokage, the power of 1 foot. Boom. Mad Dai kicked out, the air was instantly distorted, and an air cannon blasted towards one of them. Don't think that you can scare us away with some tricks. The user of the double knife flounder held the flounder liberate and went straight forward. Bang. Without any suspense, the flounder user flew out upside down, knocking over countless trees, and fell to the ground without any breath. At the same time, Mad Dai's body tilted after the kick, and the foot began to turn into ashes. 2 legs. The user of the long knife and stitching needle, Kuririki Kushimaru, had the needle directly blasted into his heart. His body was taken away more than 10 meters and lost his breath. The other foot worn by Matt also melted, for ashes. Drink. Maidadai used his last strength and threw 2 punches. The user of dull knife, Tobori, Tongsao Yabaden, and the user of explosive knife, Mwashi Jinpachi, both of them wanted to dodge when they saw that the situation was not right. The bones all over their bodies were shattered by 2 air cannons. The remaining 7 people, Black Ho Thundertooth, Loquat Juzang, and Zigwashan Fugu Ghost, couldn't accept it for a moment as they looked like a picture scroll from hell. Everyone, when they met each other, they didn't even have time to resist, and 4 people died immediately. Escape. The 3 of them looked at each other and ran away in different directions without looking back. Fear had filled their hearts, defeating their reason and their previous arrogance. How arrogant they were before, but now they are running away. He looked so embarrassed. They didn't notice that every time he attacked, he would lose one of his limbs. In other words, he could only attack 4 times in total. And after losing his limbs, he was completely blackened. It's like being put into a charcoal fire and just roasted. He has lost consciousness. Fang fell next to Mad Dai and said to the trio who staggered over. No one here has Yongdun. Even if he has Yongdun, he can't save a person whose limbs and heart are burned at the same time. Wow, Mad Dai's body was completely reduced to charred ash and scattered on the ground. Bursts of white smoke came out, as if it was still boiling hot. Bury him, Fang said to the three of them, walked aside and put away the 4 ninja swords. Metkai was silently collecting his father's ashes, but Shiranui Genma and Ebisu were completely stunned. So awesome. Is this really the strength of a genin? 4 of the 7 ninja swordsmen were killed. If it weren't for the traces of battle on the ground, the 2 of them would have thought they were under an illusion. Fang put the 4 ninja swords into storage scrolls, walked to Kai, and threw out a scroll. Put it in and take it back. He should enter the memorial monument. Thanks. Kai took the scroll, wiped away his tears, and showed a smile to Fang. Unlike Kakashi, his father's death not only did not make Kai decadent, but made him more convinced of the path he was on. Moreover, Kai got rid of it in an instant. Of course, this is also related to his character. Red steam. Fang suddenly remembered that in the original work, when Uchiha Madara saw Kai opening the 7 doors, he once said, "It's not red steam." It means that Uchiha Madara knows that someone else has opened the door to death. If we met him during the Warring States period, when Uchiha Madara didn't have the Mangekyo Sharingan at that time, as long as the one who opened the door to death was not a genin with extremely poor talent like Mad Dai, but a Chunin, Madara would basically be in trouble. After Uchiha Madara turned on the kaleidoscope, he soon had a decisive battle with Senju Hashirama, and finally founded Konoha village, and the ninja world returned to peace. During this period, no one would use the death door. Think about it again. In the future, Uchiha Madara will command the ninjas of Kurigakure village to besiege Kakashi and Lin, and at the same time seal the 3 tails into Lin's body, inducing Obito to turn black. This means that Uchiha Madara is now most likely in control of Kurigakure village, or at least Mizukage. Then, on the front line of the battle between Konoha and Kurigakure, it is very likely that there is a humanoid camera by Zetsu watching. Then I went back and reported what happened here to Madara Uchiha. So, there should be at least one white Zetsu lurking around here. Fang tried to sense it, but didn't find anything. After leaving the desert area, Fang wanted to activate the ability to perceive a wide range of areas. He had to activate the Dark Sky Wave Eye and use the power of wave to perceive. However, Fang thought about it and decided not to. It doesn't matter if Baiju watches. He has no intention of urinating here and is not afraid of people watching. As for the information that Mad Dai brought back, Madara probably won't take it seriously. Uchiha Madara has placed himself in the highest position, and he can't look down on anyone except his former obsession, Senju Hashirama. Okay, you continue to complete your mission, and remember to tell Hiruzen Sarutobi what happened here. Fang turned around and said to the 3-man team. In any case, letting Sarutobi Hiruzen know that he has appeared can be regarded as completing the alliance treaty. By the way, the deeds of Mad Dai can be passed back to Sarutobi. What will Hiruzen choose? No one knows about Mad Dai's deeds in the original work. The 3-person team left before Mad Dai took action, and the 3 who survived were defeated by a genin. Feeling shame. The Tsukuyomi Fugu ghost was killed by Kisame without mentioning it to anyone. After joining the Akatsuki organization, he mentioned it to Itachi and found out that Itachi was completely obsessed with this powerful taijutsu ninja in their own village. After not knowing anything, he didn't say much. Then there was Black Horaya, whose character naturally wouldn't talk about the shame. In the end, this dishonest ninja was still killed by a genin. Defeated. Before dying, Black Horaya thought of the shame that Mad Dai had brought to him. In order to avoid being killed by the genin, he chose to use Thunder Release. Thunder Burial. Use himself to guide thunder. Shadow, let the lightning strike you to death. I don't know which idiot developed this suicide ninjutsu. In the end, all those who knew about it died. The only survivors, Shiranui Genma, Ebisu and Metkai, only knew that Methe helped them stop the 7 ninja swordsmen. No one knows the specific content. No one in Konoha believed that Mad Dai could defeat the 7 ninja swordsmen. They only believed that after they killed Mad Dai, they discovered other battle situations and happened to let the 3 of them go. There is even a possibility. Sir, let's go. Thanks again for your help. Shiranui Genma and Ebisu bowed to Qinfeng and prepared to leave with Kai. After taking 2 steps, they stopped. A mist spread from the woods. It's Kurigaku's art. After staying on the front line for so long, the 3-person team is already very familiar with this trick. It's over. Without the help of the Hyuga clan, we would have been killed. Ebisu looked at the spreading fog and took a step back in fear. Compared with the fear of the 7 ninja swordsmen before, this feeling of waiting to die is even more desperate. The fog is getting thicker and thicker, and you can't even see your fingers. It's so thick. In the fog, you can hear the footsteps of countless ninjas approaching, but you can't see them at all. Kurigaku is good at silent killing techniques, but when they encounter the Hyuga clan on the battlefield, they release the thick fog. In order to obstruct the sight of the Uchiha clan and other Konoha ninjas, it was impossible to use the thick fog to attack in front of the Hyuga clan, so they did not hide the footsteps. Soon, the Kurigaku ninjas discovered that behind them, there were 4 figures standing on the road that must be passed by. 3 of them were little ghosts who had not yet grown up. One of the little ghosts had already started to tremble in the thick fog. It seems that the adults of the 7 ninja swordsmen have cleared away the enemies on the road, leaving only a few miscellaneous fish. Deal with them, let's go give Konoha a head-on blow. The Kurigaku ninjas thought that the 7 ninja swordsmen had already entered, and immediately made a battle plan. They had no idea that the object of their worship had actually become a deserter, and even the situation they encountered was not the same as that of their fellow villagers. Ninja report. Totally invisible. The trio is desperate. Even if they want to escape, they don't know which direction to take. If they run in the wrong direction and bump into the enemy, it will speed up their death. Call. Qinfeng blew out a breath of wind escape, temporarily blowing away some of the fog, then turned around and said to the trio. See that old crooked neck tree? You run in that direction and don't look back. Understood. Sir, be careful. When the trio heard Qinfeng speak, they felt a little relieved. However, they discovered that the unknown ninja who helped them had, for some reason, taken out a black ribbon and covered his eyes. The thick fog spread back again, and the trio remembered the direction Qinfeng pointed just now and ran away. The Kurigaku ninja did not pursue immediately, but planned to deal with Qinfeng, who seemed to be more powerful, before going. Deal with those brats. It's funny, because you can't see clearly in Kurigaku no jutsu, so you simply cover your eyes. Aware of Qinfeng's actions in the thick fog, the Kurigaku ninja made a mocking sound. Yeah, Qinfeng raised his head and sounded a faint voice. The sky fell into darkness. Are there so many people who are good at using ninja swords? Is this the result of the former 2nd-generation Mizukage's plan to focus on cultivating ninja sword candidates? After putting on the black goggles, Qinfeng became even more perceptive. Just from the sound of steel cutting through the air, he could tell that there were a total of 32 people coming to Kurigaku village, 20 of whom were holding various ninja swords. Because the 2nd-generation water, according to the policy of Kageki Den Genjutsu, Kurigaku will train many ninja sword users and select the most suitable ones. Although those candidates who were rejected did not receive ninja swords, they have also gained a lot of experience after years of training. Mundane weapon skills. It's over, unknown ninja. 5 Kurigaku village ninjas holding ninja swords attacked from the front, back, left, right and above at the same time, blocking all Qinfeng's escape routes. Tisk. The 5 people gathered together, holding ninja swords, and stabbed Qinfeng into a hedgehog, and so on. Why didn't they see the sword emerging from the opponent's body? The 5 Kurigaku ninjas noticed the problem at the same time. They looked down and saw that they were clearly attacking the opponent with their bare hands. How is it possible? Where is my ninja sword? Could it be an enemy's illusion? These Kurigaku villagers immediately took 2 steps back and began to doubt life. They did not notice that when they released their hands, a mini ninja sword the size of a key slipped from their fingertips and fell to the ground. Eye technique. Xiaoming Vagana shrunk those ninja swords. Being distracted on the battlefield is fatal. Water escape, water formation pillar. A group of turbulent water surged out from behind several people, instantly washing away the 5 distracted Kurigaku ninjas. Seeing this, Qinfeng dispersed the sand soldiers in the water. The 5 Kurigaku ninjas were bruised and swollen in the woods. Terumi Mei, what are you doing? Why are you attacking us? Are you rebelling? The Kurigakure ninja who was sneak attacked by his companions angrily questioned the person who had just used water release. The other Kurigakure ninjas also took a defensive stance. You misunderstood, I am saving them. Several figures appeared beside them just now. The girl with reddish-brown curly hair who was criticized by everyone hurriedly explained. The thick fog dissipated a little, and everyone looked in the direction Terumi said, and there was no other person she mentioned. Besides, in Kurigakure no Jutsu, they could sense the location of the ninja inside. They didn't notice anyone else appearing just now. As for the shadow clones, even the white eyes couldn't distinguish them, but they couldn't escape the Kurigakure ninja's perception. The eyes looking at Terumi gradually became dangerous. Obito was not the first to start the name of the Blood Mist village. Starting from the second generation Mizukage Kaiden Genzuki formulating a series of rules for the Kurigakure village. There is a strong sense of blood about them, and there must be no mercy towards betrayers and those who may leak information, even if they are fellow villagers. You deal with the enemy first, and I can explain it to you. A trace of anger flashed across Terumi's eyebrows, and she threw away the kunai in her hand. She took the initiative to raise her hands and ask the two Kurigakure ninjas next to them to hold them down to prevent the formation of seals. It was clear that he had just been teased by the enemy, but he first suspected his teammates. Terumi couldn't help but question the village's rules at this moment. Is this really suitable for Kurigakure village? Keep an eye on her, let's first. The sword ninja who just attacked Fang was about to say that he would deal with the enemy first, but he discovered something terrible. Surrounded by so many of them and in full view of everyone, the enemy disappeared. In fact, she was right, she did save your lives just now. Where is the enemy? Fang's voice sounded, and the Kurigakure ninjas were like frightened birds. They kept looking around and desperately exploring. But all was of no avail. At the same time, they did not believe Fang's words at all. On the contrary, the more Fang said this, the more they suspected Terumi. She had already rebelled. Otherwise, why would the enemy help her explain? When Terumi heard the enemy speaking for her, she couldn't tell whether the other party was deliberately provoking it or if she really thought so. It's true, believe me. Terumi bit her red lips and whispered. At the same time, for some reason, Terumi felt a little itchy near her neck. She didn't know if it was crawled by insects in the woods. Her hands were held down and there was nothing she could do. Scratch. Don't believe it. That's really a pity. Are you planning to kill such a beautiful little girl? The voice with a soft tone sounded from all directions. The Kurigakure ninjas couldn't tell the difference at all. Because they couldn't find Fang, they had to start thinking about what Fang said. How did the other party see Terumi's appearance under the Kurigakure no Jutsu? Sure enough, Terumi and the enemy knew each other before, this traitor. After some analysis, the Kurigakure ninja came to a conclusion and announced it to everyone. In this case, kill her and force that rat out. A Kurigakure ninja pulled out his ninja sword and walked towards Terumi, who was restrained just now. Etc. Terumi hurriedly shouted to stop. She was also thinking about the meaning of Fang's words, but she didn't expect that there was a pig in the team. This great clever person actually came to such a conclusion and wanted to kill her directly. However, when she heard Terumi's cry, the other party did not stop. Hateful. At the critical moment, Terumi couldn't help but regret. If she had known this, she might as well have left the team just now and then explained slowly. Now in order to deal with the enemy first and prevent internal conflicts, she voluntarily gave up resistance, but in exchange such a result. Looking at the increasingly clear figure, Terumi didn't know how to resist. She was only 14 years old, she had never been in love, and she didn't even have friends as strong as other ninjas because of her training. The village will definitely become a key talent for training. But in the Blood Mist village, except for Mizukage, who is the strongest person in the village, no one can violate the village's rules in the name of strength. Is it so frustrating? Killed by his companions. Just when Terumi was about to lose hope, he saw the Kurigakure village ninja appearing in front of him out of the corner of his eye, and a possibility suddenly came to his mind. I see. He can see my appearance, which means he is by my side. Do not come. Terumi raised his head and shouted anxiously to the Kurigakure ninja who was walking towards him with a ninja sword. Traitor, Still pretending. The Kurigakure ninja didn't take it seriously, but felt a little angry inside. He swung his ninja sword and slashed at Terumi Mei. Tisk. Well, a ninja sword suddenly appeared and penetrated the head of the Kurigakure ninja from the mouth. His eyes were filled with confusion and fear. Why did a ninja sword suddenly appear in his mouth? Boom, I thought. The Kurigakure ninja who was about to execute Mei Terumi fell to the ground. Look, she has been telling the truth, why don't you believe her? Just when everyone in Kurigakure began to feel fear, Qinfang's devilish voice sounded again. Don't you like silent killing techniques? Well, you should like this feeling very much. It's just that the hunter has become the prey. A smaller version of Qinfang sat on Mei Terumi's collarbone, throwing a few pebbles casually in his hand. Captain, shall we retreat? The Kurigakure ninjas began to be afraid. Once upon a time, they also enjoyed the fear when the enemy could not see them. Now, it is their turn to feel this fear. We cannot sacrifice in vain. Retreat. In the end, the Kurigakure ninjas had no choice but to evacuate. The two ninjas responsible for controlling Terumi Mei looked at each other, then let go at the same time and followed the large army. The thick fog gradually dissipated, and Terumi Mei half knelt on the ground, looking around. At this moment, she didn't know whether she should follow him or not. If he followed him, he would probably be accused of defecting when he returned to the village. But if he didn't, she would definitely be wanted as a traitor. Are you still there? Terumi Mei stood up, looked around carefully, and asked. She didn't know whether the invisible person went after him or stayed here. What are you doing? Why do you want to help me? Terumi Mei heard Qinfang's voice appear again, and her body trembled, but she quickly regained her composure. After calming down, she came to the conclusion that what the other party said before was not a provocation, but was really helping her. Otherwise, nor will he take action when she is going to be killed in the end. How to say, if you have to give a reason. That is, I prefer to make friends with people who lower their heads and cannot see their feet. Qinfang's slightly thoughtful voice sounded in Terumi Mei's ears. Can't see your feet when you look down. Terumi Mei was a little confused for a moment. What kind of strange hobby is this? Except for blind people, would anyone lower their head and not see their feet? Terumi Mei's eyes are big and bright, how could it be possible? Quote ? Terumi Mei looked down and was stunned. She couldn't really see her feet. Line of sight is blocked. I have to say, girls do develop earlier than boys. I heard that eating seafood helps secrete female hormones and can make you bigger. I don't know if it's true or not. By the way, do you eat a lot of seafood in Kurigakure village? Qinfang said another series of 3 sentences, which made Terumi Mei's mouth twitch. Kurigakure village is surrounded by coasts and is a country composed of a main island and several sub-islands. Seafood is the easiest food to obtain in Kurigakure village. Of course she has been growing up since she was a child. Just eat seafood. There was a battle here. The Konoha ninjas are probably coming soon. I'm leaving. Do you want to follow me? Terumi Mei took a deep breath, glanced around, looking for Qinfang's voice, opened her red lips slightly, and asked. You go ahead, I'll follow. Qinfang, who was lying on Terumi Mei's collarbone, changed his position. Terumi Mei nodded slightly and prepared to leave. As soon as she took a step, Terumi Mei stopped immediately. She discovered something. Her teammates from the same village just now seemed to be evacuating in the wrong direction. The direction they were evacuating was clearly towards the Konoha ninjas they were originally going to. Camp. This wave is a reverse evacuation. Knowing that the Kurigakure ninjas went to the Konoha camp, Terumi Mei knew that no one would come here in a short time, so she found a rock and sat down. Why are you doing this? Aren't you a Konoha ninja? Terumi Mei couldn't help but ask. Looking back on what happened just now, she found that the last sentence was deliberately spread to everyone's ears from one direction. The ninjas of Kurigakure village who were frightened did not do anything when they evacuated. After thinking about it, they subconsciously chose the opposite direction, which led to their reverse evacuation. However, shouldn't this person be the Konoha ninja? Why did he conflict with the Kurigakure ninja and let them go again? Past. Of course not. I'm just someone they invited over to go shopping at a big expense. Originally, I was just going through the motions. Who told you to kill people when you see them? Qin Feng's voice was slightly helpless. He was about to leave after watching Matt Day's performance, but he was chased and bitten by a mad dog raised by the blood mist. If Terumi Mei's appearance hadn't given Qin Feng another idea, he would have definitely I won't let them go just to trick Konoha. It turns out you are not a Konoha ninja. Terumi Mei's eyes lit up when she heard this, but then she thought of her current situation and sighed sadly. It's useless to think about it now. Maybe I will become a wandering ninja in the future. I can't even go back to my hometown. Terumi Mei is a little decadent. She should have a bright future, but in the Blood Mist Village, the light can't shine in at all. Haha, don't be so pessimistic. Maybe one day you can not only go back, but also become a Mizukage. Qin Feng chuckled lightly. How could it be possible? Even if a traitor had a chance to go back, no one would recognize him. Terumi Mei shook her head, thinking that Qin Feng was looking for her to be happy. What if everyone knew that it was not you who rebelled, but Mizukage? Qin Feng said as he changed his posture, took off his blindfold, and began to look down at the spectacular scenery of the Valley of the End. Mizukage, why didn't you say that the daimyo and genshi of the Land of Water also rebelled? Terumi Mei rolled her eyes. She was already sure that Qin Feng was looking for her to be happy. Mizukage is the leader of Kurigakure village, how could he rebel? Why did your majesty rebel? It's not impossible. Qin Feng touched his chin and said. Genshi, the title of the eldest man in Kurigakure village, is responsible for the political management of the village. According to the situation in the original work, this Genshi did not teach the position of Mizukage until the Ninja World War. To Terumi Mei, it shows that he is very worried about the young Kage and will often interfere with things. In this situation of separation of powers, if you want to control Kurigakure village, you may really need to control two people. Humph, then why do you think they rebelled, and for what? Terumi Mei was a little annoyed when she heard that the other party was still talking harshly. Because they were under the spell of illusion and controlled by others. Illusion. Terumi Mei was stunned for a moment, then immediately shook her head. Impossible. Mizukage is the strongest person in the village. Whose illusion can control him? Mizukage is the strongest person in Kurigakure village, but he is not the strongest person in the ninja world. Qin Feng immediately said something, leaving Terumi Mei speechless. You mean, ninjas from other ninja villages? Terumi Mei's rationality told her that this was impossible. But did the other party need to fabricate such an outrageous lie? No one would believe it. If it is true, then I must go back immediately and tell Master Yuan that there are others. Terumi Mei suddenly jumped up and stood on the rock, looking firmly into the distance. Suddenly she felt a foreign object fall into her clothes. Terumi Mei frowned, pinched the corner of her clothes and shook it. Go ahead, this is really a facial cleanser. Qin Feng played on a roller coaster once, and was thrown out of Terumi Mei's waist. He fell on the rock and returned to his original size. Terumi Mei could clearly see the way he appeared, and he immediately understood what Qin Feng was doing before. Why can't anyone see him? You. Terumi Mei subconsciously tightened the neck of her clothes. So you can shrink your body. Terumi Mei narrowed her eyes, looking at Qin Feng's eyes gradually becoming dangerous. Forget about hiding on her, it just fell directly into her clothes. She could feel the foreign object touching her skin, which meant that the other party must have it too. Feel. You have gone too far. Qin Feng raised his head and said in a deep voice. This sound stunned Terumi Mei, who was about to explode. She wasn't even angry, so why should the other party be angry? Where did I go too far? Terumi Mei asked dissatisfiedly. I kindly told you the secret information of Kurigakure village, but you suddenly jumped up and made such a big movement that you almost threw me to death. Qin Feng rubbed his arm, with an expression as if he had encountered a white-eyed wolf. Terumi Mei paused in her words, suddenly thought of something, and looked at Qin Feng. No, with your strength, you can't even absorb chakra. Why did you fall? Was it intentional? Thinking of this, Terumi Mei took a step back slightly. Do you remember feeling itchy in your neck at first? At that time, I just used chakra absorption, but I found that you looked like you were holding back, so I didn't use it. Qin Feng rolled his eyes and gave an explanation. So that's it. Terumi Mei suddenly realized and then realized that she had misunderstood Qinfang, and felt a little embarrassed. I misunderstood. I'm sorry. But is what you just said true? Is Mizukage really being controlled? Can you give me a definite answer? Terumi Mei bit her lower lip, her eyes filled with anxious prayers. As expected, Qinfang used the skill evildoers complain first and immediately gained the upper hand. I'm not telling you this information out of kindness, so you don't have to doubt its authenticity. At the same time, you don't have to think about going back, it's useless. Qinfang looked at Terumi Mei's eyes seriously and spoke slowly. Why, are you a ninja from another ninja village? Do you want to see unrest in Kurigakure village? Terumi Mei questioned in confusion. Because it's useless for you to go back. It's not that you don't work hard, it's that the enemy has Gundam. Qinfang shook his head and said. He was not using metaphor this time. Uchiha Madara really has a Gundam. Even if his Samsara eye was given to Nagato, his body has reached its limit and he is relying on the heretic demon to survive. But there is no doubt that Uchiha Madara can activate Susanoo without eyes. If Terumi Mei really touches Uchiha Madara's target and becomes a stumbling block after returning, then the future 5th generation Mizukage will probably have to fight against Uchiha Madara alone in advance. Got it. Are you saying that the enemy is too strong? Terumi Mei reluctantly understood what Qinfang meant. Yes, that person has lofty ambitions, and your Kurigakure village is just an insignificant part of his plan. Qinfang walked up to Terumi Mei and patted her shoulder. Practice hard. In 10 years, you will have the chance to see the sun through the clouds. 10 years. Terumi Mei's eyes were blank. For Kurigakure village, 10 years is not a long time. But 10 years is by no means a length of time that can pass in the blink of an eye. In particular, Terumi felt sad when she thought about the fact that she would be the Kurigakure rebellious ninja that everyone yelled at in the next 10 years. Maybe it can be faster. If you join me. Qinfang walked behind Terumi Mei and left a message. Join you. By the way, I still don't know which ninja village you are from. Terumi Mei was stunned for a moment, and then thought of a key question that she had forgotten. Qinfang, you should have heard of this name. Qinfang shrugged, waved his hand, and a sand soldier appeared next to him. The uncrowned king of the Kingdom of Wind. It's you left the desert. Terumi Mei couldn't help but widen her eyes when she heard this, looking unbelievable. Wait, you mean, you want me to join Sunagakure village? Terumi Mei suddenly reacted, with a hesitant expression. If Qinfang spent so much effort to recruit her to join Sunagakure village, then it would make sense. However, even if she is about to become a rebel ninja, she still has some feelings for Kurigakure village. With an indelible bond. No, Qinfang shook his finger. Listen clearly, I say it again, you are joining me, not Sand Hidden Village or the Kingdom of Wind. Join you, does it make a difference? Terumi Mei tilted her head, a little confused. Joining me means that we are friends and you can still become the Mizukage, or in other words, I will help you become the Mizukage. Qinfang looked at Terumi's dark green eyes and said. Friends. Terumi Mei squatted down holding her knees, with a complicated expression on her face, and smoothed her hair. So, what do you need me to do? The person I just mentioned to you just thought he knew the truth about the world, so he chose to control your Kurigakure village. In fact, the truth he knew had been tampered with. He is an enemy, and there are enemies far away. I hope we can handle this together. Qinfang stretched out a hand to Terumi Mei. At this moment, in Terumi Mei's eyes, just like Kushina and Izumi before, Qinfang was like a guiding angel under the radiance of the sun. Inadvertently, Terumi Mei had already putting his hand on it. Terumi Mei couldn't help but feel a little hot, and immediately changed the topic. Well, can you tell me more specifically? What is the enemy in the distance? Who is the person who controls Mizukage? Cannot. Qinfang refused directly. Terumi Mei was stunned. We are just good friends now. I can't tell you everything yet. And not even anyone in Sand Hidden Village knows about it yet. Only when we have enough companions and have a certain confidence can we speak out. Otherwise, it will just increase fear out of thin air. Qinfang explained calmly. I see. Terumi Mei thought thoughtfully and nodded. So, I'll make you a gift. Qinfang took out a scroll and threw it over. What? Terumi Mei caught it, opened it and looked at it, and was stunned. Ninja sword. 4 ninja swords. Could it be that all the 7 people with the ninja sword were killed by you? Not me. Fang has no interest in stealing other people's achievements. He was a Konoha genin. He killed 4 with 1 punch and 1 with 1 kick. Sky. Terumi May covered her forehead. She has been stimulated enough today. By the way, maybe it won't be long before we go to Kurigakure village together. Fang reminded Terumi May. The current Kurigakure village is under Madara's control, and nothing abnormal is actually happening. Madara's strength is part of it, and more importantly, he has no hatred for Kurigakure village. Now Blood Mist village in the game, it's like 7 wound fists, deducting 2 drops of blood and drawing a card. In Obito's Blood Mist village, it was self-inflicted, just holding a fireball. Technique, a pyroblast technique, and hit him directly in the face. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.